Chapter 3381. What's the background of this person? His actually being led by a saint? I don't know. I've never seen him before. He's unfamiliar. Is he a genius brought back from the outside? Saint Lei rarely goes out. He almost never participates in the matters of the Lei clan. Why did he bring an outsider this time? That's right. Even Lei Lan, the saint sovereign, has never cared about him. And looking at the direction, it seems like he's going to the registration place. Whispers could be heard coming from behind. Zichen heard these discussions and knew that Lei Di's status was indeed very high. Because when the saint spirits mentioned Lei Di, their faces were filled with worship. Zichen curiously asked, "What's a saint sovereign?" Lei Di looked back at Zichen and said, "Spirit ascension, saint spirit, saint sovereign." Zichen suddenly opened his eyes wide and said in disbelief, "After saint spirit is saint sovereign? Then aren't you?" Looking at Zichen's shocked expression, Lei Di said, "That's right. I'm just a saint sovereign that's slightly stronger than a 9-star saint spirit." Zichen was shocked. He didn't expect Lei Di's background to be so great. The only thing he knew about saint sovereigns was what the old man in the Shangying sky said when he taught him the lightning controlling technique. It was a technique created by the lightning seigneur. When the lightning seigneur killed someone, he could directly trace it back to the hidden world and completely destroy it. Lei Di was such a powerful existence. This powerful existence was leading the way for him. How was this possible? Then my lord is the master of this world. Zichen was shocked, and his tone of voice changed. "There's no need to be polite between us. Just call me Lei Di." Lei Di said, "I'm a saint sovereign, but I'm definitely not a ruler. There's no ruler in this world." Zichen understood Lei Di's meaning. If there was no ruler in this world, then saint sovereigns were the top existences. If the saint spirit world was compared to a pyramid, then spirit ascension realm was the lowest level. 1-star to 9-star saint spirits were the middle level. Those who stood at the top were saint sovereigns. Under the guidance of the lightning seigneur, the two entered a special building. This place exuded an ancient aura. When people saw Lei Di, they all bowed. Lei Di came to the room, looked at a beautiful woman and said, "Register his identity. Zichen, core disciple, take a core token." When the beautiful woman saw Lei Di come in, she stood up to show her respect. But after hearing Lei Di's words, her face revealed an awkward expression. She glanced at Zichen and said, "Sir, I'm afraid this is not in accordance with the rules. Our core disciple quota is limited, and we have to go through layers of tests." Lei Di reached out and interrupted him, saying, "I know the rules better than you. Just do as I say." The words of a saint venerable naturally carried a lot of weight. The beautiful woman in charge of the registration didn't dare to say anything else. She quickly lowered her head and handled the matter. At the same time, she asked, "Sir, do you want to take him as a disciple?" Usually, one would have to go through layers upon layers of selections, and after one passed, there would be a grade. Since the people brought by the Lord did not need to participate in the assessment, there had to be an explanation. Being the disciple of the Holy Venerate was enough. The identity token of the Holy Thunder region was equivalent to one's file, which could be checked at any time and anywhere. It was also a symbol of one's status. Lei Di shook his head and said, "No, just write that he has comprehended the thunder controlling technique, and I invited him to become a core disciple." When the beautiful woman heard this, her hands trembled. She carefully looked at Zichen. The Holy Venerate was the existence at the peak of this world. Their words carried a lot of weight. If one could become the disciple of a Holy Venerate, it would be the fate of several lifetimes. But the Holy Venerate in front of her used the word invite. In the saint spirit realm, what kind of person was worthy of being invited by a Holy Venerate? It was not a so-called genius disciple, because no one who could come to the saint spirit realm was mediocre. There were countless geniuses, and the Holy Venerate was the king of all geniuses. So, the person who could be invited by the Holy Venerate was not a genius, but a Holy Venerate. Only those of the same level could use the word invite. Now that Holy Venerate Lei Di used the word invite on Zichen, it showed how much he valued him. May I know how to write your name, your realm, and a drop of your blood? The beautiful woman immediately threw away the distracting thoughts in her heart and asked politely. Zichen walked forward and registered according to the requirements. Finally, he gave the other party a drop of his blood. The woman had been in charge of registering, and those who registered here were all the top geniuses in the Saint Lightning region. She had seen too much blood. At this moment, when Zichen's blood appeared, she could feel the strength of the energy contained in it. She knew that even if he did not pass the Holy Venerate Lei Di's test, he would still have a high chance of becoming a core disciple. Soon, a core token appeared in Zichen's hand. This was the token of the Saint Lightning region, indicating his identity as a member of the Lightning clan. In the future, this token would be very useful in the Saint Spirit realm. For example, the previous incident in the Meng region could be solved with this token. Seeing Zichen accept the token, Lei Di said, "Arrange for him to enter the lightning tree as soon as possible." The Saint Lightning region had existed for countless years, and many lightning trees had been cultivated. It was not a problem to arrange for a core disciple to enter the lightning tree. However, the woman knew very well that the lightning tree that the Holy Venerate was talking about was not the lightning tree that was cultivated. It was the only sacred lightning ancient tree in the Saint Lightning region. At the same time, it had another name, Sacred Lightning Ancient Ancestor. It was said that it was the oldest existence in the Saint Lightning region, even older than the current first ancestor of the Lightning clan. Seeing the two leave, the woman could not help but smile bitterly. There was a limit to the number of core disciples. Since Zichen had taken one, there would be one less place for the other. At the same time, the number of spots to enter the Sacred Lightning Ancient Tree was the same. After leaving the registration area, the Holy Venerate Lei Di said, "Let's go. I will arrange a place for you to stay." Zichen already knew the importance of Lei Di in the Lightning clan, and even in the entire Saint Spirit realm. At this moment, the expert who stood at the peak of the Saint Spirit realm personally took care of him and arranged his daily life. This made Zichen feel very uncomfortable, and he could not help but feel unnatural. He did not know why, but he felt that Lei Di was very good to him. He also felt a sense of closeness to this Holy Venerate that he had just met. Chapter 3382. Zichen listened silently and did not interrupt. However, he was very surprised in his heart. Unexpectedly, even the rooms were divided into different levels. The Earth Room's spiritual energy is the weakest, while the Thunder Room's spiritual energy is the purest. Thunder Earth Saint explained again. Zichen said, "Thunder surpasses Saint." Thunder Earth Saint nodded and said, "That's right. The person who created this place said that Saint is nothing. In his eyes, Thunder will always suppress Saint." Zichen blurted out, "That senior must be very powerful." Thunder Earth Saint said, "Not only is he powerful, he is also an extraordinary genius. The thunder controlling technique that you have mastered was created by him. Countless years have passed and no one from the Thunder clan has mastered the thunder controlling technique. You are the first person after the saint." Zichen opened his eyes wide. He did not expect that the thunder god who mastered the thunder controlling technique was one of the founders of this place. But unfortunately, that powerhouse had already perished. "What is the name of that saint?" Zichen asked curiously. He wanted to remember the name of the other party. After all, he is the only successor of the other party. Thunder Earth Saint shook his head. "It has been too long. No one remembers his name anymore. Only some words about him have been passed down." Zichen replied with an "oh" and felt very regretful. "Let's go. I will bring you to the Thunder Room." While walking forward, Thunder Earth Saint said, "Those core disciples who moved their worlds here will usually live in this city. After your room is settled, every 1,000 years, a resource will be sent to you. That is the treatment of a core disciple." "I don't have to do anything?" Zichen asked. Thunder Earth Saint nodded, "You don't have to do anything. However, there will often be assessments. Therefore, as a core disciple, the pressure is actually not small. Of course, you don't have to worry. No one will assess you. Obviously, this is because of Thunder Earth Saint. The moment Zichen came here, he took too many benefits from the other party. Master. Suddenly, a clear voice came from behind. Zichen heard the voice and turned around. He saw a woman walking forward. She was wearing a light armor covered with fine scales. The scales were shining with silver light. The woman was tall and slender, and her hair was tied into a ponytail. She looked valiant and formidable as she walked over quickly. Her delicate and beautiful face was filled with joy. Master, I finally see you. The woman walked up, looking very happy. Lei Dian nodded with an indifferent expression. The woman seemed to be used to Senior Lei Di's attitude. She didn't mind it and turned to observe Zichen. Her big, beautiful eyes twinkled as if they could speak. Hello, I'm Zichen. Zichen was a little embarrassed by the other party's unwavering gaze, so he took the initiative to speak. Master, I just heard that you personally took care of a little fellow and arranged everything for him. I didn't believe it at first, but I didn't expect it to be true. When the woman spoke, she didn't look at Saint Venerable Lei Di. Instead, she was still looking at Zichen, as if she were looking at some rare treasure. Zichen was speechless. What did she mean by little guy? I say, what's your background? Not only did Master make an exception to give you a place, but he also arranged everything for you personally. You should know that I'm his disciple, but I've never enjoyed such treatment. I relied on my true strength to get here. The woman deliberately emphasized the word true strength. Saint Venerable Lei Di frowned and said, Leilan, don't be rude. Then, Saint Venerable Lei Di said to Zichen, Zichen, she's Leilan, my disciple. She's used to speaking without thinking. You don't have to pay attention to her. Leilan opened her mouth in shock. The person in front of her was her master, who always wore a long face as if someone owed him money. Moreover, her master's tone was obviously apologizing. Why? Why? Leilan's face immediately turned ugly. She pointed at Zichen and said, Little fellow, tell me, how did you bewitch my master? How dare you? Saint Venerable Lei Di's face turned cold. Feeling the sudden drop in temperature, Zichen hurriedly said, It's okay. Saint Venerable Lei Di said, Why aren't you apologizing to Zichen? Leilan pouted, snorted, and muttered, I can beat 30 of him. Why should I apologize? In this world where the strong prey on the weak, is there a reason to apologize to the weak? Saint Venerable Lei Di was so angry that he almost laughed. Zichen was worried that he would lose his temper, so he said again, Forget about apologizing. It's not a big deal. However, although you're a 3-star Holy Spirit, I don't believe that you can beat 30 of me. Leilan raised her fist. Thunder crackled on her fist as if she wanted to teach Zichen a lesson. But soon, she came to her senses. She withdrew her fist and snorted again. Let's go. Saint Venerable Lei Di no longer paid attention to Leilan. He looked at Zichen and said in a very kind voice. Looking at the backs of the two people leaving, Leilan muttered in a low voice, Master Lei Di, don't tell me you've become stupid from cultivating. He doesn't give me, his disciple, a good look every day, but he's so nice to Zichen. And judging from the direction, he's going to the Thunder Mansion. Is he going to arrange Zichen there? Leilan stomped her foot in anger. What? He's your disciple, but he doesn't even have such good treatment. How can he be so nice to this guy? Suddenly, Leilan's face changed again. He's indifferent to a peerless beauty like me in front of him, but he doesn't give me a good look. Could it be? Leilan's eyes widened as if she had discovered a peerless secret. If you talk nonsense again, I'll punish you by sending you to the Thunder Prison. Suddenly, a cold voice rang in Leilan's ears. Leilan's heart trembled. She immediately looked up at the sky and muttered, Hey, did I fall asleep just now? And I even talked in my sleep. A cold snort rang in her ears again. Leilan giggled, but she didn't leave. Instead, she quietly followed. She had already arrived at the Thunder Mansion, but she didn't see the two people stop. Instead, they kept going deeper. What? Back then, he only gave me a heaven mansion. Now, not only did he give me a Thunder Mansion, but his number is even higher. Leilan's eyes were obviously filled with dissatisfaction. As she went deeper, her dissatisfaction became more intense. She pouted her mouth so hard that it could hang a wine bottle. Room 23. Lei Lan's eyes widened. She felt extremely incredulous. A mere one-star Holy Spirit was actually assigned to Thunder number 23. And if there weren't people in room 22, she believed that he would definitely arrange Zichen to room 1. Why? Lei Lan, who was originally very angry, now had another guess. Could it be that Master has an ulterior motive? After all, letting a one-star saint spirit skip the assessment and directly become a core disciple had already made many people angry. So, arranging him to this place was obviously not a bad thing. Chapter 3383. Lei Lan didn't follow him into Thunder number 23. Instead, she waited for Lei Di to come out. She immediately followed him and looked at him from head to toe. Looking at her eyes, Lei Di said indifferently, "You're already a 3-star Holy Spirit, yet you're still acting like a child. What are you planning?" Lei Lan said with grievance, "Master, what are you talking about? I'm not planning anything this time. Master, you're too vicious." Lei Lan was probably the only person in the Sacred Thunder region who dared to say that a Holy Spirit was vicious. Lei Di, who knew Lei Lan's character, said, "Just say it." Lei Lan said with a smile, "Zichen is just a 1-star Holy Spirit. Master, you didn't accept him as a disciple and directly made him a core disciple. That's not right. After all, the quota is limited. If he's added, then another place will have one less place." Lei Di said indifferently, "Can those people be called geniuses? It's not too much to remove all of them." Lei Lan said, "That's one of the reasons. Another reason is that you let Zichen go to the Thunder Tree Ancestor to comprehend. He's just a 1-star Holy Spirit. There's no problem for him to comprehend in front of other Thunder Trees. Third, you let him live in the Thunder Mansion. Master should know very well what kind of people live there. What right does a 1-star Holy Spirit have?" Lei Lan looked at Lei Di and said with certainty, "Forcing him to take something that doesn't belong to him and that he can't pick up will definitely bring a disaster to him. Therefore, I'm sure that Master is vicious and wants to kill him on purpose." Then, Lei Lan said seriously, "Master, you're enemies with him, right? Or maybe you're enemies with his ancestor and want to kill him on purpose." Lei Lan looked as if she wanted to be praised for being smart. Lei Di stared at her angrily, "Then I'll let him give everything to you, okay?" Lei Lan immediately clapped her hands happily, "Of course. Thank you, Master." Then, Lei Lan's eyes lit up, "Master, did you have this idea long ago? You gave him these good things on purpose and gave them to me after he died. You're really wise. You're worthy of being my dearest master." Lei Di said angrily, "Why is giving it to him harming him but not to you?" Lei Lan said, "That's not the same. I'm a 3-star Holy Spirit, and I have my master behind me. Even if someone is dissatisfied, they have to fight with me openly. Let me ask you, under such circumstances, who am I, Lei Lan, afraid of?" Lei Di didn't say anything and just left. He really didn't have anything in common with this disciple. Lei Lan suddenly thought of a very important question and said, "That's impossible, right? Could it be that that fellow also has the same potential as me?" Lei Di's voice came from the front. "In terms of potential, it's hard to say whether it's good or bad, but in terms of battle, no one can compare to him." Lei Di disappeared, leaving Lei Lan alone in a daze. She had Lei Di as her backer, so of course she could bear all the opportunities. Even if someone was dissatisfied, they wouldn't dare to frame her behind her back. It was the same for Zichen. Everyone knew that Lei Di had arranged everything for him personally. Even if he was not his disciple, he had this backing and did not need to care about all kinds of oppression. The only thing he had to care about was a fair and square confrontation. Could it be that Lei Di had the same confidence in Zichen? In fact, it was not that Lei Di had full confidence in Zichen, but Lei Di did not think that there would be anyone who would be a threat to Zichen. It was just that times had changed, and no one knew the power of the thunder controlling technique. Otherwise, why was there only one person among the countless geniuses of the Thunder Clan who knew it? Zichen sat in Thunder Room 23. Everything came so suddenly. It was as if all the hardships he had experienced in the past were all for today's training. Suddenly, one day, all of his sufferings turned into opportunities. The Lord personally came to invite him, gave him a good identity, and gave him all kinds of good resources. Everything was at his fingertips. It was simply the peak of life. The spiritual power in this room was very rich, and it was all the power of thunder. As he breathed, his power was increasing. Even if he didn't have other opportunities, he could keep on breaking through in this room. Moreover, Lady I said that he could stay in this room for as long as he wanted. Lady I also told him to go to the thunder tree to comprehend. Once it was arranged, someone would inform him. Lady I also told him that if Zi Chen didn't have a suitable weapon, he could go to the armory to pick one. All the good things came so suddenly. However, Zi Chen was not happy at all. He was thinking about Lei Tianxia. Lei Tianxia knew the Thunder Clan's techniques, so he must be from the Thunder Clan. However, he never told him about the sacred Thunder region. He just disappeared like that. Zi Chen only felt that he had disappeared. He couldn't think too much about it. He didn't dare to think about it. Was everything in front of him real? He thought about the conversation he had with Lei Tianxia. At that time, Lei Tianxia asked him, "Who told you to go to the sacred Thunder region?" At that time, Lei Tianxia told him to seal the demon clan first and talk about it later. However, after that, he only heard Lei Tianxia's voice, telling him where the 4 holy spirits were hiding. After the battle, Lei Tianxia disappeared. Shui Wu also disappeared together with Lei Tianxia. Zi Chen could no longer sense its aura. Could it be that they were really dead? Last time, the power that suppressed him and made him unable to sense the world was not only targeting him, but also Lei Tianxia. Just as he was in a daze, a person suddenly appeared in front of him. It was Lei Lan, whom he had seen before. "Hey, are you in a daze? I thought you were so happy that you were going to tear down the roof. Do you feel that all this is a dream and not real? Do you have the guts to go from a bumpkin to a millionaire? Do you feel like a meat pie fell on your head and smashed into your head and made you bleed and see stars?" Lei Lan casually sat beside Zi Chen. She picked up the teapot and found that it was empty, so she put it down again. "This is my place," Zi Chen said. "Yes, the door wasn't locked, so I came in." Lei Lan said confidently, "Why, you don't welcome me? You know, I'm a 3-star holy spirit. And I'm Lei Di's disciple. If you're in danger, I can help you." Zi Chen said faintly, "This is the sacred Thunder region, one of the safest places in the Saint Spirit world. Why would I be in danger?" Lei Lan stared at him with her big eyes as if she was looking at an idiot. "Although you were brought in by Master, you didn't come in the normal way. And you took someone else's place as soon as you arrived. Don't you think you're in danger?" Zi Chen said, "This was arranged by the Lord. If you have any objections, you can go to the Lord. Why are you looking for me?" Lei Lan seemed to have found a rare prey. "Wow, I didn't expect you to be a rascal. I really don't know why Lei Di values you so much. But do you expect him to stand up for you? Let me tell you, stop dreaming. I'm his closest disciple in this world. He has never stood up for me, so why would he stand up for a rascal like you? And he's famous for being lazy in the sacred Thunder region. He never participates in anything of the Thunder Clan." Then Lei Lan said, "In the sacred Thunder region, only I, the 3-star holy spirit, Lei Lan, can help you." Zi Chen looked at Lei Lan and said, "How can you help me?" Lei Lan's eyes showed a touch of joy. She said, "Of course I can help you. But we're not familiar with each other. Why should I help you?" Zi Chen said lightly, "Well, what do you want?" Lei Lan looked at him with a "you're very smart" expression and said, "I want to live here." Looking at Zi Chen's changing expression, Lei Lan said, "It's very empty here. It's a waste for you to live here alone. But you can't have those dirty thoughts. Otherwise, I'll beat you up until you're traumatized for life. Remember, we're just cooperating." "Okay." Zi Chen nodded in agreement. Seeing Zi Chen so happy, Lei Lan was very surprised. "Are you sure?" Zi Chen nodded again. He didn't know anything about the sacred Thunder region. It was impossible for him to ask Lei Di about everything. With such a person by his side to answer all kinds of questions, of course, there were many benefits. As for the spiritual power here, it was very rich. It didn't matter if there was one more person refining it. Seeing Zichen being so smart, Lei Lan stood up and patted him on the shoulder. She said, "Then it's settled. I'll protect you from now on." Chapter 3384. Lei Lan, who was about to brag about herself, was slightly stunned when she heard Zichen's words. She was in a cooperative relationship with Zichen, and her job was to protect Zichen. She had no obligation to explain the local customs of the Thunder Clan to him. Zichen looked at Lei Lan and waited silently for her to continue. Lei Lan glared at Zichen. She wanted to defend her dignity and status as a powerhouse in this cooperation. Zichen raised his eyebrows slightly and curled his lips. "You don't even know this?" "Who says I don't know?" Lei Lan was the first to admit defeat after being provoked by Zichen. She said angrily, "That's the most ancient sacred tree of the Holy Thunder Clan. It's even older than the current patriarch." Zichen said, "Tell me about its function." Lei Lan snorted unhappily and said, "It's very useful. It contains countless thunder techniques. As long as one's potential is high enough, one can comprehend any powerful thunder technique. Of course, if one's potential is poor, they will gain nothing." Zichen said, "That's it? Nothing else?" Lei Lan said unhappily, "Isn't that enough? To the Thunder Clan, that's the sacred tree. It's said that there are many ancient techniques that have been passed down since ancient times that we haven't comprehended. Those techniques were born by the sacred tree. They're very powerful." Lei Lan's eyes lit up and said, "The Holy Thunder Tree also has a magical ability, which is to refine weapons." "How do you refine weapons?" Zichen asked curiously. Lei Lan said angrily, "How would I know? It's said that only some special existences can trigger the magical ability of the Holy Thunder Tree. There's always a rumor that my master got his weapon from the Holy Thunder Tree." Zichen asked doubtfully, "Can it be used to refine weapons, or are there weapons inside?" "Go and ask the Holy Thunder Tree if it can answer you." Looking at the disdainful smile on Zichen's face, Lei Lan said unhappily, "Let alone me. Even if you ask Lei Di, he can't give an accurate answer. The Holy Thunder Tree is the biggest secret of the Thunder Clan. It's also said that it's the root of our existence. Its mysteriousness is ranked among the top in the 3 realms. Isn't the Lord your teacher? Why did you call him by his name?" "I'm happy. Why do you care?" Lei Lan looked down at Zichen with a smug expression. "Tell me about the opportunities here. What can you get?" Zichen asked again. Lei Lan was dissatisfied. "Zichen, you've gone too far. I'm here to protect you. I'm your master. You should be grateful to me, not this kind of attitude. I am an adult, not a servant." Zichen spread his hands and said, "Forget it. The cooperation is cancelled. You can go now. You're shameless." Lei Lan was furious. She continued, "There are all kinds of opportunities here. Let's see if you are qualified. What qualifications do you need?" Zichen asked again. Lei Lan said, "Enter the Holy Spirit battlefield. Enter the Thunder Prison. To the Sea of Lightning. In short, there are many places. As long as you can get points, you are qualified." "Points? What's that?" "It's the Thunder Clan's currency. You can get points by completing missions or making contributions. Points can be exchanged for anything here, including comprehending the Thunder Tree and exchanging for a core disciple position." With the threat from before, Lei Lan spilled everything she knew without holding back. "Tell me about the Holy Spirit battlefield." "What is that?" "It's the same as the God and Demon battlefield of the Spirit Ascension realm. After entering, you can fight with the God and Demon clans to get opportunities and points." Zichen's expression changed when he heard this. "Anytime, anywhere?" Lei Lan looked at him as if he had never seen the world. "What's so strange about that? This is the Holy Thunder region. We are the Thunder Clan. What about the Thunder Prison? What is that place?" "Prison? Speaking of that place," Lei Lan's expression changed. "The place where the heinous criminals stay. It's very dangerous, but as long as you can come out alive, You will be very rich. Seeing that Zi Chen was about to ask something, Lei Lan immediately stretched. Aya, I'm tired. What do you want to know? Wait until tomorrow. This place was big enough. There were 3 rooms. Lei Lan chose one and went in to rest. Zi Chen sat there alone, thinking. He had just arrived at the Thunder Clan, so he couldn't go back to his own world. Because once he went back, he couldn't come back. Fortunately, he could send his consciousness to the Zi Chen Hall. In the Zi Chen Palace Hall, brilliance flickered. The power of the rules circulated and transformed into Zi Chen. He stepped out, left the Zi Chen Hall, and came to the Tianwu continent. The bottom was lush, and ancient trees had covered every place. The place where Jiano was also the core of the Tianwu continent. Zi Chen's friends were all here. With a flash, Zi Chen broke through the restriction and came to the tree hall. The others were in seclusion. Only Su Mengyaro received the message and came to the tree hall. You haven't finished your mission? At first sight of Zi Chen, Su Mengyaro found that this was not his real body. It's done. I'm now in the sacred thunder region. Zi Chen, the manifestation of the precepts, said, I called you here because I want you to make a deduction. Su Mengyaro asked, what's the deduction? Zi Chen said, Lei Tianxi's life and death. Su Mengyaro knew that Lei Tianxia had come to this world and knew how powerful he was. Zi Chen suddenly wanted her to deduce Lei Tianxia's life and death. This made her expression change. What happened? Zi Chen said, I suspect that Lei Tianxia has been killed. Su Mengyaro didn't ask for the reason and started to deduce. A hazy light circulated around her body, concealing her aura. It was very mysterious. Zi Chen stood at the side and removed all the rules, trying to not interfere with Su Mengyao. A moment later, the light that covered Su Mengyao's body became unstable and eventually dispersed. Pu. When the light disappeared, Su Mengyao coughed out a mouthful of blood. How is it? Zi Chen asked nervously. Su Mengyao wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth and said, I can't deduce Lei Tianxia, nor can I deduce Lightning Divine Hall, but what? Zi Chen was very nervous. But that world has shattered. Su Mengyao's face was pale. She had once lived in that world, and this martial heaven continent was also separated from that world. She had a secret art that could deduce it. But she saw the scene of the world's destruction. Zi Chen was very clear on what the destruction of the world meant. Lei Tianxia had really died. No wonder Xuewu's aura had also disappeared. He had a bloodline connection with the main body. If he was still alive, the main body would have sensed it. Rule Zi Chen nodded. His expression was very ugly. What happened? Asked Su Mengyao. When the main body returns, I'll naturally tell you. Now, you should seize the time to cultivate and try to break through. After saying that, Zi Chen's body disappeared. At the same time, Zi Chen, who was in Thunder Room 23, opened his eyes with a gloomy expression. What's going on? Why are they so good to me after killing Lei Tianxia? Zi Chen was very puzzled. Zi Chen could sense that Lei Di was good to him. And he didn't know why, but when he saw Lei Di, he felt very close. Chapter 3385. She closed the door when she came in. Apparently, she had already planned to stay in the room. Zi Chen went to open the door. He recognized the woman in front of him. She was the one who gave him the core token. Zi Chen, my name is Liz. Congratulations on becoming a core disciple. The beautiful woman named Liz smiled at Zi Chen. Thank you. Zi Chen thanked her, but there was doubt in his eyes. Why was she called Liz? Were the people of the Thunder Clan not surnamed Lei? These are the resources you will get after becoming a core disciple. The next share will be in 1,000 years. Liz took out something that looked like a Chenkuan pouch and handed it to Zi Chen. She said, there is also a quota token inside. It can only be used once. The Lord gave it to you. You can go to the weapon pavilion and pick a weapon that suits you. Okay, thank you. Zi Chen nodded. Liz smiled at him and left. Is there really something special about him that made the Lord spend so much effort on him? Liz had doubts in her heart as she left. That was why she wanted to see him personally. As for what the Lord said about Chen being the first person to master the lightning manipulation technique, Liz did not really care. The Lightning Clan had a rumor regarding the lightning controlling technique. It was said to be miraculous, but no one had ever comprehended it. However, some geniuses could master the lightning manipulation technique. It was said that the Holy Thunder Tree evolved it from the lightning manipulation technique. Chen closed the door, and just as he turned around, he saw Lei Lan standing behind him and staring at him. "Hey, aren't you asleep?" Chen was shocked. "You're not sleepwalking, are you?" "Sleepwalking my ass." Lei Lan fiercely knocked on Chen's head and said, "Why did that woman come to find you?" Chen said, "She gave me resources. As a core disciple, shouldn't I have resources?" Lei Lan shook her head and said, "It's not wrong to give you resources, but she shouldn't be the one to do it." "Do you know who she is?" Chen nodded. "Yes, Liz. She was the one who helped me register." Lei Lan continued, "Then do you think a person who is in charge of registering core members will personally deliver the resources? You don't have enough people, right?" Chen asked. "Not enough manpower? Hehe, what is this place?" This was the core city of the Thunder Clan. Who knows how many people outside are racking their brains to come here. If they didn't have enough manpower, those families would have already sent people in. Lei Lan pointed at her feet and said, "Just standing here for a while is an opportunity for many people." Chen believed in this. The power of thunder in this city was very strong, which was beneficial for cultivation. Suddenly, Chen realized something. "Wait, you mean the family? Isn't this the Thunder Clan? Why is there a clan here?" Lei Lan said, "The Thunder Clan is just a unified name, and there is indeed the surname Lei. However, in the Sacred Thunder region, it is impossible for everyone to have the surname Lei. The old ancestor is not so overbearing. After many experts came here, they kept their surname and then started a family here." Lei Lan pointed at Chen and said, "For example, you are called Chen. When you become an expert and can start a family, your descendants will all have the surname Z. This is a family." Chen suddenly understood. Liz's real surname is Gra. In the Sacred Thunder region, the surname Gra can be ranked in the top 10. This analogy made Chen more clear about the complexity of the Thunder Clan. Looking at the changing expression of Chen, Lei Lan patted his shoulder and said earnestly, "Now you should know the meaning of me protecting you, right? Today, Gra Lei came here not only to deliver resources, but also to gather information." "What information?" Lei Lan thought for a moment and said, "For example, where you live, or to observe you from a close distance, and then to sell information about you to other competitors, or to those who have their quota snatched by you." "The word snatched is not appropriate, is it?" Chen said, "I didn't do anything. But Lei Lan did. I've thought about it carefully. He must have an ulterior motive to harm you." While saying this, Lei Lan secretly looked at the door. Fortunately, the door was closed. "He gave you a lot of things that you can't afford just to attract attention and become the target of public criticism. So, I've always suspected that your ancestor had an irreconcilable enmity with him. Unfortunately, he became a saint venerable and couldn't take revenge, so he thought of this compromise." Looking at Lei Lan's serious tone, Chen's expression was very strange. In this world, there was actually someone who talked about his master like this. He asked, "Then how should I resolve it?" Lei Lan said awkwardly, "This is an extremely difficult choice. On one hand, there are various resources, and on the other hand, there are various dangers. It depends on whether you can let go of them. For example, this thunder room is very unsuitable for you." Chen said discontentedly, "Lei Lan, this is too much. I just agreed to live with you, and you want to drive me away." Lei Lan was stunned and said angrily, "What nonsense are you talking about? Who's living with you?" Chen said, "We live in the same room. If this isn't living together, then what is?" "What a scoundrel." Lei Lan gritted her teeth and said, "I really can't figure out why Lei Di is so good to a scoundrel like you." Chen smiled and said, "What you can't figure out is yet to come. Do you see what this is?" Chen had an additional token in his hand. When he took it out, there was a faint clanging sound coming from it. Lei Lan's eyes lit up. This is the identity token to enter the weapon pavilion. How did you get it? Zichen said, Master Lei Di gave it to me. Damn it, he's really good to you. This is equivalent to you being able to enter the weapon pavilion and take any weapon. Lei Lan was furious and very discontented. Her eyes stared at the token in Zichen's hand and kept turning it. The next moment, she said, Zichen, I'm lacking a handy weapon recently. If danger comes, I might not be able to protect you. How about this, you give this quota to me. After I find a suitable weapon, I'll protect you. How about it? Zichen's response was to put away the token. He had originally wanted to anger Lei Lan, who was spouting nonsense and trying to scare him. Zichen, how about this? As long as you give me the quota token, I'll agree to any request you make. Lei Lan said again. Really? Zichen looked Lei Lan up and down. Looking at her curvy figure, his eyes lit up. Of course. Lei Lan deliberately twisted her waist to make herself more attractive. However, it was obvious that she did not do this often. It looked very funny, but it also had a different kind of beauty. As long as you're willing, you can even give me your body. She lowered her voice and said softly. Her voice was very soft, but in fact, she had made up her mind to beat Zichen up as long as he took the token. After all, she was a 3-star holy spirit. Zichen smiled and said, Lei Lan, you're very similar to a friend of mine. Lei Lan said, really? She's the one you love the most, right? Chapter 3386. Lei Lan's expression instantly froze. Monk. Bald thief. Like a thief. She was as beautiful as a flower, loved by everyone who saw her. Her pursuers lined up for a few streets. Zichen was blind. Not only did he not know how to appreciate her, he actually said she was like a thief. Furthermore, he even compared her to a monk. Lei Lan was about to explode in anger. Lightning surged on her body and smoke rose from her head. Feeling the strong energy fluctuations from Lei Lan's body, Zichen had a bad feeling. He immediately said, You can't fight here, right? I say, you have to be careful. If something happens, I can't protect you. Ayaya. This lady is so angry. I need you to protect me. Zichen, I will kill you. For a moment, the room was in chaos. The sound of objects falling to the ground could be heard. Luckily, Lei Lan knew her limits. She did not really do anything to Zichen. However, after this incident, she was even more certain that Zichen was a scoundrel. Looking at the messy floor, Zichen said, I am going to break through. Clean up the room. Lei Lan, who had just suppressed her anger, immediately screamed, Zichen, I am your lord. What do you think I am? A servant. Lord. Zichen laughed, Lord, please clean up the floor. After that, Zichen entered the room. Lei Lan was so angry that she stomped her feet. After Lei Lan's disturbance, Zichen's mood eased a little. However, he still could not accept the fact that Lei Tianxia had died. When he was on the Life Star, Lei Tianxia was already in a miserable state. He had finally revived and become stronger. How could he die again? However, if he did not die, why could he not even sense Xue Wu's aura? One must know that Xue Wu had a soul connection with him. It was just like the Sky Martial continent and Zichen's world. As long as the other party still existed, no matter how far they were, he could sense them. Throwing away the distracting thoughts, Zichen decided to first refine the resources to break through. He opened the bag and saw that there were 10 spar stones inside. The crystal was emitting a dazzling light of thunder. The 10 crystals floated in front of Zichen. Zichen could clearly feel the pure power contained within them. There are actually 10 holy thunder crystals. How biased. Suddenly, Lei Lan's voice came from the door. Zichen immediately put away the crystal and said with dissatisfaction, Hey, that's too much. This is my room. Lei Lan said, Why didn't you close the door? Zichen said, I don't have the habit of closing the door, and I have the habit of practicing naked. Lei Lan was puzzled. What naked cultivation? Zichen said, It's cultivating naked. Lei Lan's cheeks immediately turned red. She glared at Zichen. Scoundrel, You really are a stinking scoundrel. With that, Lei Lan closed the door and left. That's a holy lightning crystal of the holy lightning level. After refining it, it can increase the power of lightning. Speaking of which, at your level, you should only get 5 of them. That guy Lei Di is really biased. Lei Lan's angry voice came from outside. You're not his elder, why is he so nice to you? Zi Chen was amused. Lei Lan didn't use any vulgarities when she scolded people. She definitely wanted to say something like you're not his father, but she was worried that the Lord would hear it. After adjusting his mood, Zi Chen took out a holy thunder crystal and started refining it. Strands of lightning energy entered his body. This was pure energy. There was almost no need to refine it before it could be absorbed by his body. Moreover, this power was even purer than the holy crystals obtained from killing the holy spirits. Of course, it was mainly because Zi Chen was Lei Wu, a member of the Lei clan. After cleaning up the messy living room, Lei Lan looked at Zi Chen's door and muttered, "What a lucky guy, but he's a little too shameless. But at least you're smart. You know to improve your strength first and didn't walk around recklessly." Lei Lan snorted. "Otherwise, you'll remember this lesson for life." After that, Lei Lan went back to her room to cultivate. This thunder room was definitely extraordinary. Even for the current her, it was still extremely useful. Even if she didn't use any resources and just cultivated here for 1,000 years, she was confident that she could break through to 4-star. Hu Wei stared at Liz in front of him and said unhappily, "What did you say?" "My slot is gone." Liz said helplessly, "I've already repeated it twice. Your slot is gone." "Why?" "I worked so hard to participate in the test and finally passed countless tests. I went through so many life and death situations to get a slot. Why is it gone just like that?" Hu Wei said unhappily, "I need an explanation." Liz said, "I can't give you an explanation. You should go to the Lei Di Holy Master and ask for it. He took the slot and gave it to someone called Zi Chen. This is robbery. Are there any thunder techniques? Where are the rules of the Lei clan?" Hu Wei's face was full of anger, but he could only vent it on Liz. How would he dare to ask the Holy Master for an explanation? Let alone him, even the patriarch of the Hu clan didn't dare to go. The few people who had obtained a spot looked at Hu Wei with strange gazes. Robbery? The rules of the Lei clan? Going through countless tests and life and death situations? As members of big clans, which one of them didn't use connections to stand here? Without a certain connection, how could they be qualified to participate in the core disciple test? As for being a genius, this world didn't lack geniuses the least. The 10,000 spirit world had already screened those who weren't geniuses millions of times. Those who could come here were no mediocre people. Liz looked at the others and said, "You all have become core disciples. Go to the earth rooms and someone will arrange a place for you." These people's faces were full of joy. Even the lowest level earth classrooms were extremely useful to 2-star holy spirits like them. Only Hu Wei came in high spirits and returned in disappointment. Even if he was unwilling, he didn't dare to do it here. Even if his position in the Hu clan was very high and he could do whatever he wanted there, he couldn't do it here. This wasn't just a place for geniuses, it was also a place where the power of the sacred thunder region gathered. Those who could stay here for a long time, which one of them didn't have a complicated power behind them? Take Liz for example. She came from the Jila clan and had a very high position in the clan, but she was willing to come here to work. Hu Wei left tactfully. He needed to find the clan to reason things out. At this time, only by using the clan's connections could he get justice. Moreover, even if one of the slots was removed, it would be when the clan's power was competing, and not just randomly pick him. Hu Wei returned to the clan and told the clan about this matter, which immediately caused the clan to be furious. "This is too much. This is too much. Are they trying to bully my Hu clan?" The 8-star holy spirit of the Hu clan, Hu Lushan, had a face full of anger. "Who dares to snatch my Hu clan slot?" Hu Lushan asked. "It's the Saint Venerable, Lei Di Holy Venerable," Hu Wei said. Hu Lushan's face was full of shock. He didn't know whether to be angry or not. His expression immediately became interesting. How could this be? Didn't the Saint Venerable not interfere in the clan's matters? Chapter 3387. Hu Lushan personally brought Hu Wei to the core city. Of course, he did not really dare to cause trouble here. He just wanted to reason with someone. One of the slots was taken by the sacred venerate. No one dared to object. But why was it Hu Wei from their family? Even if Hu Wei's score was lower, it did not prove that Hu Wei's talent was worse than others. It was just that he did not perform well during the battle. In fact, in the Saint Spirit sector, the competition was no longer about talent, but about family power. During the assessment, there were many one-star Holy Spirits, but why was it that the family disciples always got the last slot? Was it because of strength? It was the power that was at fault. The family was the one behind the scenes, operating everything. Once the participants succeeded in getting the slot, they would be given resources by the Thunder Clan. Even an idiot would become a genius. Without resources, what was the point of being a genius? They would still be stuck in the same place. This was the same. Why was it Hu Wei? It was related to the assessment score, but it was closely related to the family's strength. Hu Lushan came here to reason, but there was no reason. When the slots were decided, Liz and the people behind her had already carefully selected and seen the pros and cons. Hu Lushan came with anger and returned with monstrous anger. But it was not useless. For example, someone mentioned the sacred venerate Lei Di's temperament, so this matter was not without a turning point. After returning to the family, Hu Lushan looked at Hu Wei and said, "It's up to you whether you can get the slot back or not." Hu Wei listened quietly. Hu Lushan continued, "I heard that the sacred venerate gave Zi Chen a lot of help this time, such as letting him stay in the Thunder Room. If you can defeat him and get everything he has, it will be your good fortune. This is both a trial and an opportunity." Hu Wei was shocked when he heard this. He didn't even dare to think about the Thunder Symbol's room. One had to know that those who had just gotten the slots were all in the Earth Room. After knowing that the opponent was only a one-star Holy Spirit, Hu Wei was full of confidence and went to the core area again. Here, Hu Wei decided to challenge Zi Chen. Unfortunately, Zi Chen had been cultivating in seclusion and did not step out of his room. Hu Wei snorted coldly, "I don't believe that you won't come out." No matter how much courage he had, he wouldn't dare to cause trouble outside Zi Chen's room. If he disturbed the other neighbors, he would be in a very bad situation. He might even be directly evicted. In the room, Zi Chen was refining resources to increase his realm. After Lei Lan returned to her room, she didn't come out. Zi Chen was still unaware of what was happening outside. He was fully focused on refining the Holy Lightning Crystal. This was a famous resource of the Holy Thunder region. Only core disciples could obtain it for free. As for others, they had to exchange for it with contribution points. In the entire Sacred Thunder region, core disciples were the most respected people. Their status in the Thunder Clan was extremely high, and it was the same in the entire Saint Spirit world. For many people, it was very difficult to obtain these things. For many rogue cultivators, unless they were extremely lucky, it was very difficult for them to obtain it. The Thunder Territory's core spots were mostly occupied by those families with status in the Thunder Clan. Moreover, there was always competition between the clans. For example, Hu Wei this time. Other than squeezing out rogue cultivators, he also squeezed out many people from the clans. After all, there were many clans and the spots were limited. Only Zi Chen took a shortcut here. It could be said that he reached the heavens in a single bound. The impact of this matter was huge. Discussions about him were everywhere in the city. As the person involved, Zi Chen wasn't clear about this. He had already refined 2 holy lightning crystals and was in the process of refining the third one. Saint Venerable Lei Di held a map in his hand and was currently checking the location on it. This map recorded the various regions of the Thunder Clan in detail. It even recorded some secret places. Once placed in the Saint Spirit world, it would be a priceless treasure. Even the secret of the Holy Thunder Clan would be exposed because of this. However, in this Saint Spirit world, it seemed like no one dared to have any ideas about the Saint Venerable. Saint Venerable Lei Di carefully checked the map in order to find a good location for Zi Chen's world. One had to admit that Saint Venerable Lei Di was very concerned about Zichen. Men. A moment later, Saint Venerable Lei Di kept the map. An old man stood outside. "What can I do for you, Saint Venerable?" The old man was the housekeeper of the Saint Venerable's residence. He had stayed here for many years. "How is Zichen recently?" Saint Venerable Lei Di asked. "Young Master Zichen has been in seclusion. He has never left his room." The old housekeeper said, "However, many people are paying attention to him outside. One of them is Hu Wei from the Hu clan. I heard that it's about the quota." Saint Venerable Lei Di heard this and sneered. "It seems that he knows my character. He thinks that I won't interfere too much in this matter." The old housekeeper said, "If that's the case, do you want to inform Hu Lushan?" Lei Di said, "No need. He can only grow faster with a sense of crisis. Hu Lushan won't dare to break the rules even if he has more guts." "Yes." The old housekeeper nodded. After seeing that the Saint Venerable had no other orders, he left. In fact, the old housekeeper was also very confused. According to the Saint Venerable's character, he didn't even care about Lei Lan, his only disciple. Why was he so concerned about Zichen? When he found out that Zichen was staying in Thunder Room 23, he was even more shocked. "Arrange for Zichen to go to the Eastern Thunder region immediately. He can choose a place to put his world there." A light appeared in Saint Venerable Lei Di's hand. The light turned into a thunder token and flew out of the room. The old housekeeper who had disappeared earlier appeared silently and left with the Saint Venerable's thunder token. After following the Saint Venerable for so many years, the housekeeper naturally understood the Saint Venerable's intention. Therefore, he didn't arrange this matter himself. Very quickly, the mission was passed down layer by layer, and somehow, it reached Liz. "Leave it to me." Liz volunteered and left with the Saint Venerable's thunder token. She went straight to Thunder Room 23. "Liz, where are you going?" Along the way, Liz saw Hu Wei. He immediately asked her, "I'm going to find Zichen." Liz didn't hide it. "I'm taking him to the Eastern Thunder region." Hu Wei's eyes flashed with eagerness. "Now?" Liz nodded and left without hesitation. "Zichen, let's see how you can hide. It's time to return everything that belongs to me." A cold light flashed in Hu Wei's eyes. Every room was maintained by a formation. Outsiders couldn't open it. At the same time, there was a restriction. Once triggered, it would gently wake the person in the room. It was like a gentle breeze that wouldn't affect cultivation. Zichen opened his eyes when he heard the sound of the restriction being activated. When he opened the door, he was surprised to see Liz again. "Zichen, I'm here to take you to the Eastern Thunder region." Chapter 3388. Eastern Lightning Region? Zichen was stunned when he heard this, and he asked curiously, "Where is that?" Liz said, "It's a region under the Thunder Clan's jurisdiction. There are many planets and prosperous trading grounds inside. It's considered the outer region." Zichen suddenly understood. He had told the Thunder Clan's saint to place his world outside. Obviously, the other party had always kept it in mind. So he asked, "Are we leaving now?" Liz nodded. "All right then." Zichen was about to leave with Liz. "Wait, I'll go with you." At this time, Lei Lan walked out of the room. When Liz saw Lei Lan, she was a little surprised. Her gaze wandered between the two of them. "I'm going to place my world. There's no point for you to follow, right?" Zichen said. "I have to protect your safety. What if some people with bad intentions suddenly attack you?" Lei Lan said, "A mere one-star Holy Spirit. You're strong outside, but not in the sacred Thunder region." Zichen didn't refuse Lei Lan. He wasn't familiar with this place at all. Having Lei Lan with him was good. Compared to Liz, Zichen trusted Lei Lan more. The three of them walked towards the teleportation circle. "Zichen, you're finally out." After leaving the Thunder region, Zichen heard a cold voice. A person appeared in front of him. It was a young man. His face was filled with anger as he stared at Zichen with cold eyes. "You're looking for me?" Zichen looked at the unfamiliar person. "Hu Wei, what do you want?" Lei Lan glanced at Hu Wei with disdain. However, there was a hint of joy in her heart because someone had finally come to cause trouble for Zi Chen. It was time for her to make a move. Otherwise, Zi Chen wouldn't know her purpose. Lei Lan, this has nothing to do with you. Hu Wei angrily walked forward. He pointed at Zi Chen and said, I'm here to settle the score with him. I don't know you. Zi Chen said indifferently. But I know you. You robbed me of all my resources, everything. Hu Wei said angrily, I am here to duel with you. Without waiting for Zi Chen to speak, Lei Lan stepped forward and shielded Zi Chen behind her. I'll fight you. Liz stood there without saying a word, only curiously sizing up Zi Chen. Zi Chen's expression was very calm, without the slightest hint of nervousness or panic. Liz's gaze swept across her surroundings and saw a few figures. She thought to herself, these people aren't stupid. Zi Chen's matter was related to Holy Sage Lei Di, so Hu Wei didn't dare to act recklessly. He had deliberately called over so many people because he wanted everyone to witness that he had obtained everything that should have been his through fair and square methods. Zi Chen, fight me if you have the guts. What's the point of hiding behind a woman? Hu Wei, who was only a 2-star, naturally didn't dare to fight with Lei Lan. Hence, he intentionally mocked her. Zi Chen said indifferently, she is now my guardian. Guardian? Hu Wei sneered and said, I couldn't tell that you're really shameless, standing behind a woman. Aren't you ashamed? Fight me if you have the ability. Zi Chen wasn't enraged. Instead, he laughed. I'm shameless standing behind a woman, then what about you? You don't even have the courage to fight with a woman, and you want to fight me? I say, if you don't have the guts, then hurry up and leave. Don't make a spectacle of yourself here. Hu Wei was born in the Holy Thunder region. He was also a proud figure of the Hu family. He rarely suffered losses in his life. Normally, it was always him relying on his family's power to snatch other people's resources. When had he ever been robbed? The last time his quota was snatched away, it was considered his first big loss in his life. He was an existence that had always been protected by his family. How could he possibly be Zi Chen's opponent in a verbal confrontation? Zi Chen's journey was completely one step at a time. He had seen all kinds of people and things. How could he possibly be at a disadvantage in a verbal confrontation? Sure enough, Hu Wei flew into a rage. I'm going to kill you. However, he wasn't stupid either. He still didn't fall for it and expressed that he wanted to fight with Lei Lan. Right then, Lei Lan said, I won't bully you. I'll suppress to 2-star realm and fight with you. Hu Wei snorted and said, I, Hu Wei, have never hit a woman. Lei Lan, get out of the way. Zi Chen, I'll suppress to 1-star realm and fight with you. I just can't take this lying down. If you lose, I don't need you to compensate me for everything that I've lost. I just need you to apologize to me. If I lose, I'll admit that I'm not as good as you. I don't deserve the quota, and I won't trouble you in the future. Zi Chen smiled and said, you're really lame at trying to provoke me. Speaking of which, I thought that the playboys in the Saint Spirit world might be different. I didn't expect them to be the same as the playboys in my world. Some of their methods are even more clumsy. Hu Wei sneered, you don't dare. If Zi Chen lost, even if it was just an apology, it would be a loss of face for the Holy Sage Lei Di. Zi Chen wasn't afraid of rumors, but he definitely couldn't let the Holy Sage Lei Di lose face in front of him. Moreover, this kind of provocation was indeed clumsy. Zi Chen smiled faintly and said, since you're looking for a beating, I'll fulfill your wish. However, you don't have to suppress your cultivation. I'm a 1-star martial artist, and I can deal with you, a 2-star martial artist. Lei Lan turned around and looked at Zi Chen with a strange look in her eyes. A ray of light lit up in Liz's eyes. Shameless boasting. Ch, I'll suppress my 1-star martial artist to fight with you. Hu Wei snorted coldly. The 2-star martial artist's aura surged out from his body and became a 1-star martial artist. There was a hint of admiration in Lei Lan's eyes. Zi Chen had silently provoked Hu Wei, causing him to give up on his own initiative. Not only Lei Lan, but Liz and the other spectators also had the same thought. Hu Wei raised his head and looked at the sky. He said in a deep voice, "I challenge Chen to protect me." Chen was a little surprised. Who was he talking to? Buzz. There was a ripple in the sky. A ray of light shone down and enveloped the surroundings, forming a space of its own. At this moment, the four of them had already left the city and arrived at another battle space. Lei Lan looked at Chen, who had a strange expression, and explained, "This is a special battle space. Fighting here won't cause any damage to other things. However, you have to be careful. This space won't disappear until there's a winner." After saying that, Lei Lan retreated and left the space. "Good luck, Chen. I have faith in you." Liz smiled and left as well. If Chen couldn't defeat Hu Wei in a battle of the same level, no one would say anything. Only Chen and Hu Wei were left in the space. There was a faint light flowing around their bodies as they merged with the space. The others could easily retreat, but not the two of them. There was a resistance on their bodies. "Are you afraid?" Hu Wei said coldly. Chen said, "I've never fought with anyone since I came to the Thunder Clan. I don't want to fight with anyone. I just want to live in harmony with everyone." "Humph, you want to beg for mercy? It's too late." Hu Wei's voice was cold. Chen said, "I won't go so far as to beg for mercy. It's just that I've always wanted peace, but trouble still came. I can only hope that after I beat you up today, no more trouble will come to me." "You're courting death." Hu Wei's eyes flashed coldly. The power of thunder erupted from his body. Like a bolt of lightning, he went straight for Chen. Bang! He punched Chen's head. Chen's body immediately exploded. Hu Wei turned around and looked behind him. He saw Chen standing there. "Thunder Flash?" he said in surprise, "You've just arrived at the Thunder Clan and haven't comprehended the Thunder Tree. How can you use Thunder Flash?" Chen said, "As a show of respect, I'll give you another chance to attack." "Go to hell!" Hu Wei shouted angrily. His body flashed and he also used Thunder Flash. He arrived beside Chen. Lightning flashed and he punched forward. Chen disappeared. The two used Thunder Flash at the same time. Their speed was about the same. Chapter 3389. As the lightning flashed, the two figures kept flashing. Up until now, there had not been a real collision. The expressions of the surrounding spectators all changed. They felt extremely astonished. They knew a little about Chen. He had not been to the Thunder Tree to comprehend it. How did he know the Thunder Clan's rapid thunder flash? Moreover, it seemed that his comprehension level was not weaker than Hu Wei's. Hu Wei was a 2-star sacred spirit. Even if he deliberately suppressed his strength by 1 star, his comprehension level was still 2-star. Why were they on par with each other? Just as they were confused, they heard Chen's voice. "It seems that your thunder flash is only SOSO. Forget it. Let's end this quickly." The light flashed again and he stood up. Immediately after, Hu Wei arrived beside him and threw a punch at Chen's face. Lightning surged and was extremely terrifying. Countless lightning snakes surrounded his body. Feeling the power of this punch, a smile appeared on Chen's face. He clenched his fist and attacked. Lightning flashed again, but the power of the lightning was more condensed and terrifying. Boom! The two fists met and the lightning exploded. Hu Wei's body was directly submerged by the lightning. He was immediately sent flying. This was the first time the two had exchanged blows. The expressions of the spectators, who were still indifferent before, changed one by one. How is that possible? Is that thunder explosion? How does he know thunder explosion? Everyone was a sacred spirit and they were all geniuses. They naturally had extraordinary vision. They recognized Chen's thunder explosion at a glance. Just as they did not understand why Chen knew Thunder Flash when he had not been to the Thunder Tree, they also did not understand why Chen knew Thunder Explosion. Could it be Lei Di? Lei Lan, who was also puzzled, immediately guessed one person. If it was Lei Di who had taught him in advance, everything would make sense. However, Lei Lan knew Lei Di's character very well. He was very impatient when talking to others. How could he have the patience to teach skills? However, Thinking of Lei Di's attitude towards Zi Chen, it seemed to be possible. Just as Lei Lan was guessing, Hu Wei, who was sent flying, shouted, "Holy thunder annihilation." In the sky, space distorted as a powerful aura surged out. A terrifying palm imprint that emitted lightning descended from the sky. Zi Chen tapped his foot and soared into the air. The explosive thunder fist, which he had not used previously, was now unleashed with all his might. Boom! Zi Chen's fist landed, shattering the palm print and landing on the ground. When he landed, his body froze. Beside Hu Wei, Zi Chen reappeared and unleashed another thunderblast. Boom! Hu Wei, who had no time to react, was sent flying. After seeing this scene, the expressions of the people who were already suspicious began to change. Whoosh! Zi Chen disappeared again and approached with thunder flash. Then, the crowd saw Zi Chen use the combination of thunder flash and thunder explosion to send Hu Wei flying. How could this be? Many people cried out in surprise. Even if Hu Wei had suppressed his cultivation level, he shouldn't be so weak. He had participated in countless battles and was definitely one of the top geniuses of the Thunder Clan. Why would he be suppressed like this? What's being suppressed is not strength, but speed. Some of the high-level holy spirits who were watching the show said in deep voices. Their expressions became serious. What? Hearing this explanation, many people's expressions changed as they found it unbelievable. Hu Wei, who had suppressed his cultivation level, was actually suppressed by Zi Chen, a one-star holy spirit? In that case, in terms of comprehension of Thunder Flash, the two-star Hu Wei was no match for the one-star Zi Chen? Boom! The last thunderblast resounded, and blood splattered in the air. Hu Wei spat out blood and fell heavily to the ground. The crowd was in an uproar. Hu Wei was defeated just like that. Lei Di must have given him special treatment. Otherwise, he wouldn't be so strong. Lei Lan thought so in her heart, and she was very sure of it. No wonder the sacred master would take special care of him. His comprehension of Thunder Flash has already surpassed Hu Wei. Liz also had her own speculations in her heart. Zi Chen looked at the unwilling Hu Wei and said, "I wasn't trying to provoke you. Don't suppress your cultivation level. Just use your two-star strength. I think you'll be convinced of your defeat." Hu Wei stood up, wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, and said coldly, "That's what you said." Zi Chen nodded and said, "Don't worry, I won't laugh at you. This way, I'll be able to fight to my heart's content. You're courting death." Hu Wei used his anger to stimulate his two-star strength. "See how I'll torture you." With that, he disappeared. In an instant, he was in front of Zi Chen and attacked Zi Chen. Zi Chen had already disappeared, and his afterimage was shattered. Hu Wei's expression didn't change, and his figure flickered again. The Thunder Flash of the Thunder Tribe had a great advantage in the battle between the Thunder Tribe disciples. Usually, when one had the advantage in speed, he could easily suppress his opponent, just like how Zi Chen suppressed Hu Wei. In terms of strength, Thunder Flash didn't have much of an advantage, but in terms of speed, Zi Chen was stronger. Just when everyone thought that the two-star Hu Wei could firmly suppress Zi Chen, they strangely discovered that the two's speed was actually on par with each other. How was this possible? With a difference of one realm, how could this be the result? No one could understand. Fortunately, Zi Chen didn't have the absolute advantage from before, and couldn't gain the slightest advantage in speed. However, if the battle continued like this, Zi Chen's energy would be exhausted first, and then he would be defeated. But would it really be like this? Of course not. Zi Chen quickly punched, and another thunder flash. With a loud bang, the lightning exploded, and Zi Chen's body slid back. With a one-star gap, his thunder flash couldn't gain the upper hand. Hu Wei stared at him and said coldly, "It's your turn now." Zi Chen smiled and said, "It's my turn to beat a drowning dog." Hu Wei rushed forward and punched out, surrounded by countless lightning. This punch was definitely his peak punch. Zi Chen also clenched his fist, but this time, he used the power of the 7 demon bones. The demon bones glowed, and a powerful force came out of his body. The instant the two fists collided, a loud boom resounded in all directions. Powerful fluctuations spread out, and within the fluctuations, there was the sound of bones breaking, and Hu Wei's scream. On Zichen's hand, the power of lightning gradually retracted, and the demon bones dimmed, and then disappeared into his palm. Hu Wei fell to the ground and screamed. His arm was broken. Outside this space, everyone was shocked, and they were almost petrified. How do you feel now? Zichen looked at Hu Wei with a smile. I want you to die. Hu Wei stood up, and a bolt of lightning flew out from between his eyebrows, like a sharp sword, and went straight for Zichen. Chapter 3390. The soul attack turned into a sharp sword and came straight at him. Zichen did not have the time to dodge, nor did he have the intention to. He allowed the attack to enter his mind. He felt a sharp pain in his mind as if he was being pricked by a needle. But that was all. Zichen did not slow down. He arrived in front of Hu Wei in an instant and punched again. He used the power of the demonic bone again. This was the fundamental power that allowed him to fight above his level. The punch landed on Hu Wei's chest. Hu Wei's body bent like a shrimp, and he coughed out blood. The sound of bones breaking was heard again. Hu Wei landed on the ground and looked at Zichen in disbelief. His Thunder Spirit technique was a 2-star Holy Spirit attack. How powerful was that? Why did it not cause any damage to Zichen? The crowd of spectators outside were also extremely shocked. Die! 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 Several powerful attacks flew out from between Hu Wei's eyebrows. These attacks turned into various weapons and entered Zichen's mind. In Zichen's mind, his soul power formed a defense and blocked all the attacks. Even the 3-star ancient demon spirit dragon's soul attack could not hurt Zichen, let alone Hu Wei, who was only a 2-star holy spirit. After blocking all the attacks, Zichen arrived in front of Hu Wei again and punched him again. Every punch was full force, and Hu Wei's bones cracked. The pain made Hu Wei scream, and more soul attacks flew out. However, Zichen was like a soulless person. He did not even frown and continued to punch. Everyone's hearts were beating wildly as they listened to the deafening roar through the Space Guardian. The roar was like a mountain hitting one's body. It was terrifying. Lei Lan widened her eyes in disbelief. She did not expect Zichen to be so powerful. Liz's beautiful eyes flashed. She seemed to understand why the Lord insisted on giving Zichen the slot. The battle was over. Zichen defeated Hu Wei, a 2-star holy spirit, with his 1-star strength. Following this, he believed that all the troubles would be gone with a wave of his hand. Get lost. Suddenly, Hu Wei let out a furious roar as a terrifying power erupted from his body, sending Zichen flying. Zichen, who was flying backwards, felt a sense of danger. After landing, his expression became solemn. Hu Wei was covered in blood. He stood up shakily with a talisman in his hand. The talisman flickered with lightning. The sense of danger came from this talisman. That's a 3rd-grade talisman. Seeing this scene, the expressions of the people in the outer circle changed greatly. This kind of talisman was unique to the Thunder Clan, and its grade corresponded to the level of the Holy Spirit. Only a 5-star Saint Spirit could refine such a 3rd-grade talisman. Once it was activated, even a 3-star Saint Spirit would be injured. As for Zichen, a 1-star Holy Spirit, if he was hit, he would most likely die immediately. Feeling threatened, Zichen's hand flashed, and the demon saber appeared in his hand. This was his strongest move. He was confident that he could kill Hu Wei with a slash of his blade at full power. One slash. Hu Wei, what are you doing? Lei Lan angrily rebuked. He was very anxious, but he could no longer enter the space. Hu Wei, put down the talisman. This is just a competition, Liz reminded him. If Hu Wei used the talisman to kill Zichen in this situation, not only would Hu Wei be implicated, but the entire Hu clan would be implicated. Come on. Come at me again. Hu Wei, who had almost all of his bones broken by Zichen, gritted his teeth and stood up. He held the talisman in his hand and shouted at Zichen. Aren't you very capable? Come at me again. Zichen narrowed his eyes, and the frequency of his breathing decreased. You little thief who used your status as a saint to snatch someone else's spot. Come at me if you can. Let me see how strong you are. Hu Wei's body was dripping with blood, and so was his face. Even his eyes were red. He, who had never suffered such a big loss in his life, was thoroughly defeated this time. Those people who were originally called over by him to be his witnesses did not see his rise, but they saw his pathetic side. He believed that it would not be long before his deeds spread throughout the Thunder Clan. He felt that he had lost his face, his dignity, and at the same time, his rationality. In his heart, only by killing Zi Chen or humiliating him could he salvage today's situation. You lost. Zi Chen said in a deep voice, his left hand holding the black scabbard tightly. I didn't lose. I'm still standing. Come at me if you can. Hu Wei raised the talisman in his hand, ignoring the voice outside the space. Little thief, get over here. He stared at Zi Chen, his fingers tightening the talisman. Countless lightning bolts surged, and a tyrannical aura began to wreak havoc. If you don't get over here, I'll kill you. He roared in anger, his voice extremely loud. Get over here, kneel in front of me, and admit your mistake. Say loudly that you're wrong, that you're a thief. Zi Chen looked at him, his serious expression gradually relaxing. Are you sure you want me to do this? Of course, get over here. Don't bargain with me, quickly kowtow and admit your mistake. Hu Wei had lost his rationality and was roaring loudly at the moment. Zi Chen's left hand landed on the hilt of his saber. His eyes gradually turned cold, and a trace of killing intent that had never appeared before appeared. It was just a competition, and he did not want to kill anyone. But now, his killing intent had been aroused. You're a useless thief who only relies on the saint. Get over here, kneel, and admit your mistake. Don't be pretentious. As long as I crush the talisman, you'll definitely die. Hu Wei was still roaring loudly. I gave you a chance, but you didn't cherish it. Don't blame me when you die. The killing intent in Zi Chen's eyes skyrocketed, and he took a deep breath. Countless lightning bolts burst out from his body. The original demon bone appeared again. He took a step forward, and the isolated space seemed to tremble. At this moment, Zi Chen's figure gave people a sense of majesty and loftiness. Whoosh! The demon saber was unsheathed. A flash of light appeared in the isolated space. The light was so bright that people could not open their eyes. The saber light went straight for Hu Wei at an extremely fast speed. Hu Wei, who had lost his rationality, did not have time to crush the talisman. The saber light was already close to him. Boom! The saber light that was close to Hu Wei shattered, and the powerful force sent Hu Wei flying backward. The talisman in his hand almost fell out of his hand. He reacted and wanted to crush the talisman, but he found that he was powerless. There was a powerful force suppressing him. Hu Wei, who had regained his rationality, saw that there was another person in front of him. It was that person who had blocked Zi Chen's attack for him. It was a middle-aged man. He raised his hand and shattered the saber light. Zi Chen stood in the distance and stared at the man. The demon saber had already returned to its sheath. The middle-aged man retracted his hand and looked at Zi Chen. He said, "It's just a competition. Why do you have to kill?" His voice was not sharp, nor was it a question. It was more like an inquiry. Zi Chen said, "He has a reason to die." The middle-aged man did not seem to expect Zi Chen to answer in such a way. He was stunned and said, "This is a competition after all." Then his gaze fell on the demon saber in Zi Chen's hand. His expression changed slightly. "The demon saber of the demon clan?" Zi Chen nodded. The middle-aged man said again, "The 7-demon saber?" Zi Chen nodded again. Chapter 3391. Moving his gaze away from the demonic blade, the middle-aged man looked back at Hu Wei, but his attitude was no longer as good as before. He said indifferently, "Your skills are inferior, and even your character is inferior. I need an explanation from the Hu family for this." Hu Wei did not even dare to refute and saluted the middle-aged man. He was completely awake, and there was only fear and regret in his eyes. Because the middle-aged man did not want an explanation from him, but an explanation from the Hu family. It was related to the family. How could he not be afraid? The middle-aged man waved his hand, and the battle space disappeared. As the middle-aged man appeared, the others saluted him with cupped fists. "Greetings, Chief Commander. This person was the chief commander of this city, a 9-star saint spirit. He was the only one who could enter the battle space in time to save Hu-Wei. Everyone present was a saint spirit, so their vision was naturally very high. They saw the previous battle clearly. If the chief commander did not appear, Hu-Wei, who was blinded by anger, would have been killed with a single slash. He did not have time to crush the talisman that he relied on the most. Disperse. The chief commander waved his left hand, clenched his right hand behind his back, and turned to leave. However, the moment he turned around, Liz noticed that there was a trace of dark red blood on the chief commander's clenched fist. Her eyes were immediately filled with shock. Chen actually injured the chief commander with that slash. She looked at Chen again, feeling that he was even more mysterious. Very few people noticed this detail, because everyone was staring at Chen. Chen had already put away his demonic blade and stood there calmly. A 1-star defeated a 2-star, and even almost killed him. Such powerful combat strength was rare in the Thunder Clan. And people with such combat strength often did not need to participate in the assessment to get a spot as a core disciple. No matter how powerful the force behind you was, it could not suppress the rise of such an existence. Because all they needed was a challenge. There was such a rule in the Thunder Clan. If they challenged a core disciple, as long as the other party agreed, they could get everything from the other party after winning. The current Chen was fully deserving of being a core disciple. But to live in the Thunder Room, this strength was still not enough. It was not that his combat strength was not strong, but his realm was not enough. Hu-Wei stood there in a daze. As he listened to the discussions around him, his expression became even more unsightly. This time, he suffered a crushing defeat. Let's go. Chen turned around and looked at Liz. Let's go. Reese finally reacted and led Chen away. Lei Lan also followed. He was also shocked by Chen's battle prowess. If a 1-star could defeat a 2-star, then what about when he was a 2-star? Wouldn't he be able to fight against 3 stars? She felt nervous. What if Chen broke through to 2 stars and had the battle prowess to fight against 3 stars? At that time, wouldn't he not need her anymore? This won't do. I have to go into seclusion properly after I return and strive to reach 4-star as soon as possible. Lei Lan secretly made up her mind. Chen didn't know what Lei Lan was thinking at this moment. He only knew that after this battle, there would be fewer people who wanted to cause trouble for him. After the great commander left, he looked at his right hand. There was a bloodstain there. A smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. I was careless. The bloodstain had stopped bleeding, but being injured by a 1-star, no one would believe it if word got out. It's actually the 7-demon blade. The great commander shook his head and said, to be able to injure me, it seems like this is the legendary 7-demon blade. It is said that there are not many in the demon race who can fuse them when they are in the spirit ascension realm. I didn't expect him to do it. He's really amazing. It's more than amazing. A voice sounded. Didn't you notice that the demon bone was also fused? The great commander heard the voice and looked up. He saw a person standing in front of him. City Lord. He was a little surprised. Was the City Lord also paying attention to the previous battle? The City Lord smiled and said, no matter what, he is someone who Thunder Di Saint thinks highly of. Naturally, no accident can happen here. But it seems like I worried too much. The great commander said, City Lord, what did you mean just now? Could it be that his demon bone was also fused? The City Lord said, the 7-demon bone, 7-demon blade, and the spirit cultivation saber scabbard are all like this. A look of surprise appeared on the great commander's face. The City Lord smiled. In fact, he had just seen some information about Chen, and he was very surprised when he saw it. He had the battle record of killing a divine spirit when he was in the spirit ascension realm. This was not something an ordinary person could do. Then this matter. The great commander looked at the City Lord. Depends on the Hu family's attitude. Chen stepped onto the teleportation array that would take him away from the core city. In the next moment, they arrived in the Eastern Thunder region. The outer region of the Thunder region was the world of the outer region. The area here was the largest, and it was divided into 4 directions: north, south, east, and west. Zichen arrived at the Eastern Thunder region, which was divided into many star regions. This place was open to the public, so many people gathered here, not limited to the Thunder Clan. Moreover, there were many opportunities here. In the Saint Spirit realm, it was one of the few major forces. With the Saint's token, no one dared to make things difficult for the 3. In fact, these people couldn't wait to see Zichen here. After all, he was a core disciple. As the saying goes, distant relatives are not as good as close neighbors. There were many benefits to being close to a core disciple. The man named Y.A. Hung patiently explained the regions to Zichen, as well as some good geographical locations. Zichen listened one by one, and after a moment, said, "It's not too good. It's relatively remote. There are no important resources in my world, only some friends living there." Y.A. Hung, who had always been very respectful to Zichen, shook his head and said, "No, sir, you're wrong. The early world may be nothing to you, sir, but as your realm increases, you will need more and more resources. Then, the world will become more and more important. In a prosperous world, the tax every 100 years is a very considerable number. The bigger and more prosperous the world, the more people there will be, until this world becomes a new core place." Zichen understood Y.A. Hung's meaning. A world's core, in addition to being safer, was also more prosperous and more resources. It was said that no matter what level, resources were needed. Those families in the Thunder Clan, in addition to having many powerhouses, also controlled many core places. Their wealth was astonishing. If it was Zichen alone, it didn't matter, but there were many people in his world. Zichen had to consider their future. Okay, then find a place to develop. Zichen finally nodded. Y.A. Hung's face showed a touch of joy, and immediately said, "Sir, what do you think of this place? It's close to the Ganhai sacred domain. In the early stage, we can build a transmission array here and slowly develop." Zichen nodded and said, "Okay." Y.A. Hung smiled and said, "Good, sir, can you give me the Holy Thunder token? After I've arranged everything, I'll ask you to create a world." Zichen nodded again, and Liz gave the Thunder token to Y.A. Hung. "Sir, you can walk around here, maybe you'll find some unexpected good things. This is the most prosperous trading place in the Eastern Thunder Territory." Zichen declined Y.A. Hung's idea of arranging someone to lead the way. Then, the 3 left this place and walked in the trading place. This place was very prosperous and lively. There was an endless stream of people. As a famous prosperous place in the Saint Spirit domain, holy spirits could be seen everywhere. Chapter 3392. In front of Zichen, there were 5 people coming out of a shop. After seeing the 5 people, Zichen's face revealed a surprised expression. Because those 5 people were all wearing kasayas and holding prayer beads in their hands. They were all bald monks. "What's wrong?" Lei Lan noticed Zichen's abnormality. Zichen said, "There are still monks in this world." Lei Lan's expression changed. She remembered Zichen's description of her last time and snorted. Liz said, "Of course there are. The Buddhist domain has an extraordinary status in the Saint Spirit realm." "The Buddhist domain, is it a domain of its own?" Zichen asked. Liz nodded. Zichen said again, "In that case, those who live there are all bald thieves." Liz did not answer immediately, showing that she was a little embarrassed. "Amitabha, what do you mean, benefactor?" At this time, a voice came from the front. It was an old monk who walked in front of Zichen. The old monk's face was peaceful, without joy or sorrow. Behind him, the other 4 monks, although they also bowed to Zichen with their palms together, there was dissatisfaction in their eyes. Being called bald thieves out of the blue, no one seemed to be happy. The fact that they did not get angry on the spot proved that these monks had self-restraint. Zichen quickly followed the monk's bow and said, "Master, please don't blame me. I said something wrong, but after seeing you, I was too excited and blurted it out." The old monk chanted the name of Buddha again. The dissatisfaction on the faces of the other 4 deepened. They thought that the apology was fine before, but why did it change in the end? "What do you mean by blurting it out? Do you often describe monks like that?" Chen also noticed his slip of the tongue and explained again, "To be honest, I have a friend from the lower realms who is a Buddhist. I didn't expect to see a Buddhist here, so I'm happy for that friend. It proves that there is an organization here." The old monk was surprised and said, "Benefactor's friend is from the 10,000 spirit realm?" "Yes." Chen said, "It's just that he's still cultivating alone. I didn't know that there was an organization in the saint spirit realm." "Amitabha, it's the Buddhist sect," the old monk said. Clearly, the word organization didn't sound good. Chen said, "Master, may I ask if you can take my friend with you? He is very intelligent." Ever since monk came here, although he had been growing, his speed had obviously slowed down. Now that he had met someone from the Buddhist region, once the monk returned to that place, he believed that he would definitely improve at a rapid pace. "The Buddha is a fated person. I can meet him," the old monk said. "My name is Chen. How should I address you, Grandmaster?" "Poor monk Shengjiao." Chen said, "Grandmaster Shengju, can you wait for a while? My friend is in my world. Can he wait for me to land in this world? Otherwise, it will be very difficult for us to come back after we return." Shengju nodded. While waiting, Chen asked a few questions about the Buddhist domain. Chen's attitude was getting better and better. This made those who had opinions about Chen change their attitude toward him. Leilan was speechless. She knew how Chen described his friend. "May I know why Grandmaster is here this time?" Chen had just asked, and before Shengju could answer, Hung came back with the Holy Thunder token. "My lord, the matter has been settled. Although there were some unpleasantness, it's all settled." Hung took the token and walked forward, handing it back to Chen with both hands. After seeing the token, Shengju's expression changed. Why is it you, old monk? Why are you still here? Are you pestering my lord?" Seeing Shengju beside him, Hung's face immediately showed dissatisfaction. "You know Grandmaster Shengju?" Chen asked. Hung said, "My lord, this old monk came to the Sacred Thunder region to buy materials. Not to mention that we don't have such materials, even if we did, it would not be his turn." "What materials do we not have in the Sacred Thunder region?" Leilan asked curiously. Even Liz was very surprised. Although this was the outer region of the Sacred Thunder region, it was also the most bustling place in the region. "There should be all kinds of materials here." Hung said, "It's the bone of the Sacred Thunder beast." "So it's that." Both Leilan and Liz had a look of realization on their faces. Chen asked in surprise, "What's that?" He was still puzzled. "It's a kind of exotic beast on the Sacred Spirit battlefield. It's unique to the Thunder clan. It's equivalent to the native exotic beasts on the battlefield of gods and demons." Liz explained, "Only core disciples can get it. Every time they get it, they have to give a portion to the Thunder clan, and the rest can be used to trade. However, every time it appears, it will be fought over. There's a price but no supply." Chen understood. Hung said, "The bone of the Sacred Thunder beast is rare, and the price is very high. However, it can't be said that it doesn't exist. It's just that this old monk's price is too low. Naturally, no one wants to trade with him. But he's really good. He's not leaving and is shamelessly searching house by house." Chen looked back at Shengju and asked, "Grandmaster, what do you need the bone for?" Grandmaster Shengju said, "To be honest, it's for refining weapons. If you add some of the bone of the Sacred Thunder beast to Buddhist weapons, it will be very effective against demons. Unfortunately, the price outside is too high. So, I wanted to come here to take a look." Chen said, "It's for killing demons." Liz said, "The region where the Buddhist region is located is not very stable. Demons often appear there. It's hard to say which force has killed the most demons in the sacred spirit realm, but the Buddhist region's ranking is definitely at the top." Chen admired the person who really killed demons. He looked at Hung and said, "Since it's for killing demons, can't the Thunder region make an exception?" Hung smiled bitterly. Leilan said, "This kind of thing is almost the best choice for refining weapons. The price is extremely high, but there's not much of it. Once the news spreads, It will be immediately booked in advance. Zichen looked back at Grandmaster Shengju and said apologetically, I've just come to the Sacred Thunder region and haven't entered the Sacred Spirit battlefield. If I have it, I don't mind sharing it with Grandmaster. Can you use the primal beasts from the battlefield of gods and demons instead? Grandmaster Shengju asked in surprise, does Benefactor have primal beast materials? Zichen nodded and said, I've been to the battlefield of gods and demons once. There are some things I haven't dealt with and I don't know how to use them. Grandmaster, come with me to take a look. Grandmaster Shengju nodded, his expression calm. Behind him, there was obvious joy in the eyes of the other 4 people. Leilan was very surprised. She didn't expect Zichen to have such materials. Meanwhile, Reese's expression changed. Sir, come with me. The place has been chosen. Chapter 3393. After arriving at an empty area, Ya Heng said, this place is close to the Ganhai sacred region, so it's easy to gain popularity. Previously, the people from Ganhai sacred region weren't willing, but after I took out the token, they gave up. When Zichen heard this, he frowned slightly. Are you making things difficult for him? Ya Heng said, how so? Sir, you don't have to mind. This is our Thunder Clan's territory, not someone's private territory. It's just that they're too selfish and want to treat this place as their private land. Changing the topic, Ya Heng said, moreover, they can't wait for a core disciple to land here. Zichen nodded slightly, as long as they didn't steal other people's things. Standing in this area, Zichen began to move the world. The world traveled through the void. Because it had accurate coordinates, its speed was very fast. A moment later, space distorted, and a bolt of lightning appeared above. The lightning flashed, and the world seemed to fall. A shadow fell, and the world began to grow, falling on this strange place. The world stopped in the void and began to operate on its own. The people brought by Shengju all looked ahead curiously. This was the world of the core disciples of the Sacred Thunder sacred region, and it was almost impossible to see. Zichen said, let's go. The group flew toward Zichen's world and then entered it. The moment they entered the world, they were attracted by the pure green color. With their spiritual sense, they could naturally see the city of trees in the green world, as well as the humans living in the city. They were amazed. Shengju said, I didn't expect Benefactor's world to be so lively. Master, follow me. Zichen's figure descended, heading toward the center of the city of trees. Evil good monk, come out quickly. While descending, Zichen also transmitted his voice. You're finally willing to come back. The next moment, the monk's laughter rang out, come and see your Lord Buddha, I've broken through to the spirit ascension realm. Zichen's figure descended, and evil good monk appeared at the same time. The moment he looked up, he saw the monks beside Zichen and blurted out, bald donkey, there are bald donkeys in this world. Liz and Leilan couldn't help but laugh. It seemed that this was Zichen's friend, but it was a little too weird. Monk Shengju was also slightly taken aback. Fortunately, he was knowledgeable and immediately chanted the name of Buddha. Zichen glared at the monk. The monk came to his senses and shook his robe. A golden Buddhist light enveloped his body and his temperament changed drastically. Amitabha. This poor monk, Shan Xie, greets you all. At this moment, the monk was like the reincarnation of a Buddha. The people who came with monk Shengju all stared at him in disbelief. This change made him seem like a completely different person. The former was like a scoundrel, while the latter was like an enlightened monk. Liz and Leilan were also shocked by the changes in the monk's appearance. If it wasn't for the fact that the other party's aura was very weak, they would definitely have mistaken him for a core disciple of a Buddhist sect. Shan Xie, this is Master Shengju, and these are his disciples. Come over quickly, Zichen said to the monk. However, the way he addressed Shan Xie sounded awkward. The monk flew forward and bowed again. Shan Xie greets the holy teacher. Zichen said again, Master, this is the friend I was talking about. What do you think? A golden light flashed in Shengju's eyes. He sized up the monk and said, Shanzai, Buddha helps those who are fated. Shan Xie, are you willing to follow me into the Buddhist sect? Behind Shengju, the expressions of the other monks changed. He directly invited him just like that. Wasn't it too fast? One must know that once Sheng Ju invited someone into the Buddhist sect, they would become an official disciple. This disciple is willing. The monk put his palms together. Good, good. Sheng Ju nodded and smiled with satisfaction. This poor monk came to the east this time. There is no need for this trip, no need for this trip. Zichen was also very satisfied. Obviously, this Sheng Ju was really capable to be able to see the monk's extraordinariness. The monk was known as Shan Xie and had an extraordinary background. He was definitely the most mysterious of the friends that followed him. Zichen said, "Master, let's go to the tree hall for a chat." When the group went to the tree hall, Su Mengyaro was already there to receive them. When they saw Su Mengyaro, Lei Lan and Liz's eyes lit up. Su Mengyaro wore a white dress and stood on top of the tree hall. A light breeze blew past and her dress fluttered slightly, as if she was going to ride the wind. Sheng Ju also saw Su Mengyaro and his expression changed. The feeling that Su Mengyaro gave people, other than her beauty, there was also a mysterious aura. This kind of mystery shouldn't have appeared in front of them. Because Su Mengyaro was only at the initial stage of the spirit ascension realm. In front of these holy spirits, how could she be mysterious? Zichen introduced her to Sheng Ju. "Master, this is my fiancé." Master Sheng Ju put his palms together, amid her. Sheng Ju greets the benefactor. "Greetings, Master. Everyone is a guest. Please come in." Su Mengyaro returned the greeting with a faint smile on her beautiful face. She wasn't nervous at all. At this time, Demon Ape and the others also arrived and stood under the tree hall. Obviously, they hadn't seen Zichen in a long time. Sheng Ju turned back to look at them, Buddhist light flowing around his body. Benefactor Zichen really has hidden dragons and crouching tigers. Sheng Ju's eyes have been opened today. Lei Lan and Liz looked at Lin Shui and the others. They had looks comparable to Su Mengyaro and each had a unique aura. Although their cultivation levels were low, it was obvious that they had extraordinary potential. The two didn't expect that Zichen's world was a complete world with so many humans living in it. Ye Heng was even more surprised. He had never seen such a situation before. The group entered the tree hall. Only Sheng Ju, Lei Lan, and Liz sat down while the others stood. Sheng Ju pulled the monk and was very satisfied. After Su Mengyaro served everyone tea and snacks, Zichen said, "Mengyaro, Master came this time because he wants to see our primordial beast materials. Bring some over." "Okay." Su Mengyaro nodded and left the tree hall. "I can't see through her." After Su Mengyaro left, Liz transmitted to Lei Lan, "She seems to be covered by a layer of fog." Lei Lan remained silent. She could not understand why Zichen, this rascal, would have such a beauty by his side. After a while, Su Mengyaro returned with a portion of the primordial beast materials. "The materials are all here. Master, please take a look." Light flashed in front of Su Mengyaro and various materials appeared. She explained, "These are primordial beast materials, these are primordial divine beasts, and these are primordial spirit beasts. These are primordial beast materials with dual attributes. They belong to different factions." Chapter 3394. The battlefield of gods and demons was one of the special lands of opportunity in the Saint Spirit realm. For spirit ascenders, there were great opportunities inside. But that place only opened once in a while. Although the great powers had the same Holy Spirit battlefield as the battlefield of gods and demons, the two were actually different. True primordial beasts could only be found on the battlefield of gods and demons, and there weren't many of them. In addition, the battlefield of gods and demons had been open for many years, so primordial beast materials were definitely one of the most expensive materials for spirit ascension weapons. Such materials were hard to come by. But today, Su Mengyaro had brought out a complete series. There were 3 types of primal beasts: God, Devil, and Spirit. There were also 3 types of dual attribute materials: God, Devil, Spirit, and Spirit. Lei Lan's eyes widened in curiosity. After all, she had no family backing her and didn't know much about business. But Liz was different from Ye Heng. Liz was very surprised. and Ya Heng covered his mouth. He was afraid that he would lose his composure at this time and disturb the Holy Spirits here. Zichen's materials, which weren't easy to deal with, were absolute treasures to Ya Heng. And the more, the better. He would take as much as he could get. The disciples behind Shengju were also very curious. They had only heard about the resources on the battlefield of gods and demons, but had never seen such a complete set. Shengju was different. He looked away from the resources and asked Zichen, "Benefactor, did you bring out all these resources?" Zichen nodded and said, "I was lucky last time and brought some out. But the origin crystals have already been refined, so only these materials are left. Oh, there's also a lot of primordial beast meat that hasn't been eaten yet, and there's a lot of blood that can't be processed." Hearing Zichen's words, Ya Heng even had the heart to kill himself. His full name was Ya Heng, and he was the manager of the Jila family in this outer realm. This time, Liz had personally brought Zichen here to inform Ya Heng in advance. Obviously, she also wanted to build a good relationship with Zichen. Not to mention other things, just the special care that Holy Venerable Lei Di had shown Zichen was enough for them to rope him in. Ya Heng's original plan was to place Zichen's world near the Jila family's world. That way, it would be more convenient to be neighbors with this core disciple. Naturally, their relationship would also be better. But at the last moment, after Ya Heng said those words, Liz changed her mind, so Ya Heng purposely chose this place. "My lord," Ya Heng said, but after Liz glanced at him, he didn't say anything else. Zichen looked at Ya Heng. Ya Heng said respectfully, "Sir, please discuss the cooperation with Grandmaster first. This humble one has a presumptuous request, but it's not urgent." He didn't know if it was an illusion, but Zichen felt that Ya Heng's attitude towards him seemed to be more respectful. Zichen said with a smile, "What kind of cooperation do I have with you?" "Just take whatever you like, Master. This is equivalent to a meeting gift from good and evil to Master." Amitabha, good indeed. When Grandmaster Shengju heard this, he immediately stood up and put his palms together. "How can I accept your generosity?" Good and evil said, "You don't have to be so polite, sacred teacher. Zichen is rich and has a lot of these things." Zichen also said that this is a meeting gift from this humble monk to sacred teacher. "Naturally, I can't be stingy." Zichen smiled but didn't say anything. This guy really had a good appetite. He even wanted to take a piece of meat with him. However, Zichen didn't expose him. Instead, he nodded and said, "Good and evil is right. I can't be stingy with a meeting gift. In the future, I'll have to trouble Grandmaster to take care of me in the Buddhist domain. What kind of material does Grandmaster fancy?" Shengju said, "Since Benefactor is sincere, this humble monk will speak. Among the many resources, the most useful to us are primordial beasts with spirit and demon attributes." Zichen nodded and said, "In that case, I'll give Grandmaster 5 complete sets of materials." 5 complete sets of materials were equivalent to 5 spirit and demon dual attribute primordial beasts. Shengju was slightly startled, as if he was very surprised. Zichen said, "I know Grandmaster doesn't like killing. We'll break down the 5 sets of materials. There won't be any flesh and blood in them." Shengju still didn't say anything. Good and evil winked at Zichen. Zichen said, "Is it not enough? Fine, I'll give Grandmaster 10 sets of materials. If 10 sets aren't enough, then we—" "Oh, no, this humble monk didn't mean that." Shengju immediately interrupted Zichen and said, Amitabha. Benefactor is too considerate. Actually, 5 sets are enough." Zichen smiled and said, "Since Grandmaster is satisfied, then we'll go with the 10 sets we agreed on. Grandmaster, please wait a moment. The 10 sets will be brought up soon." Amitabha. Shengju put his palms together and bowed to Zichen. "Benefactor, can you bring some more beast blood? When refining weapons, it can also increase the grade. Of course, it's equivalent to 10 spirit and demon primordial beasts," Zichen said. Shengju said, "Meat is useless to us." Zichen added, "Grandmaster, you can also bring it back and exchange it with other factions for other things." "Thank you." Hearing the two's conversation, Ya Hung became anxious. Even the look in Liz's eyes changed. This Zi Chen was really too generous. He had only met once, but he had already given her 10 dual-attribute spirit and demon primordial beasts. Even if he sold them for materials, they would be sold for a sky-high price. Why was he giving them away for free? Liz was also shocked, but she quickly regained her senses. When she looked at Zi Chen again, her expression was clearly different. Su Mengyaro stood to the side, the smile on her face never changing. When Zi Chen was establishing his faction, she was in charge. She naturally understood what Zi Chen meant. After giving Sheng Ju so many benefits today, he would definitely take good care of the monk when he returned. In the future, the monk would definitely get more benefits from the Buddhist domain. The demon ape brought the materials and placed them in a spirit ring. Zi Chen took the spirit ring and handed it to Sheng Ju with both hands. "Grandmaster, please take a look." Sheng Ju thanked him again. After taking the spirit ring, he thanked him again. How could he count something that was given to him for free? "As for the holy lightning demon bone, Grandmaster, after I get it, I will inform you." "You can send someone to get it," Zi Chen said. "Absolutely not, benefactor, absolutely not." Grandmaster Sheng Ju hurriedly refused. He was already a 5-star sacred spirit, so he was naturally not a fool. He understood the meaning of Zi Chen giving him resources. In addition, he saw that Zi Chen had a sacred venerate token. Coupled with Ya Heng's attitude towards Zi Chen, it was obvious that Zi Chen was not an ordinary person. This kind of person could only be befriended. How could he keep exploiting them? Moreover, in the sacred thunder domain, a 5-star sacred spirit like him was nothing. Otherwise, Ya Heng, a mere spirit ascension realm cultivator, would not call him an old monk without any respect. Chapter 3395. Zi Chen had just returned and was about to leave without even drinking. Monk was a little reluctant and said that he would leave in a few days. Zi Chen said, "Hurry up and leave. You're too weak." After discovering Sheng Ju, Zi Chen thought of a problem, a very serious problem. He was very happy to see Monk off. Monk had potential. Since he had an organization, he naturally couldn't delay. On the same day, Monk left with Sheng Ju. "Take care. If there's anything, send someone to inform me." Everyone appeared and bade farewell to Monk. Sheng Ju stood in the sky and looked at the people below. His body was emitting a golden light, and so was his eyes. He had a special ability that allowed him to see the potential of others. It was better than some testing methods. At this moment, in his eyes, the bodies of the people below were shining brightly and dazzlingly. This represented one's potential. None of the people below were mortals. They were all top geniuses. As for Monk, his potential was similarly dazzling. Sheng Ju left the world with Tyrant. Everyone was a little disappointed, but they were happy for Monk from the bottom of their hearts. Zi Chen looked at Ya Hung and asked, "What did you want to say?" Ya Hung said, "Can I ask?" Before Ya Hung could finish, Liz interrupted him. She said, "Do you still have a lot of resources from the primordial beasts?" Zi Chen said, "There's still a lot." Liz said, "Why don't we work together? Let us handle these resources and we'll both benefit." Zi Chen asked, "How do we work together?" "The resources from the primordial beasts can be used to refine weapons. Every weapon will be placed in a certain proportion. When the time comes, we'll split the profits according to the proportion." Liz said. This matter was obviously not simple and involved many follow-up issues. Ya Hung said, "I have a suggestion, but I don't know if I should say it." "Say it." Zi Chen said. Ya Hung looked outside the city. "I noticed that there are trees here, and there are fruits on the trees. That's why I feel that we should set up a workshop in this world specifically for brewing wine. We can use this special fruit, as well as some of the blood of the protozoa that my lord obtained. When the time comes, we can sell it in this world and increase the popularity of this world. We can also set up weapon workshops here and sell weapons in this world." Obviously, Ya Hung's thinking was a step further than Liz's. While working together, he also brought popularity to this world. Zi Chen nodded and said, "This is a good suggestion." Ya Hung said, "Of course, The most important thing is to see how many similar resources you can provide. If there aren't enough resources, the accumulated popularity will quickly dissipate. Zichen said, resources are not a problem for the time being. I will take you to have a look later. As for how to cooperate, you can send someone to discuss with Meng Yao. Now that this matter had been preliminarily settled, there were still many things to be discussed. It was not something that could be completed in a day or two. Most importantly, the teleportation array had not been built yet. However, with Zichen's special identity, no one made things difficult for him. Soon, someone came to investigate and find a suitable place. When they returned, only Leilan and Zichen went back. Liz said that she wanted to go back to her family. Obviously, this matter was not small and would require a lot of resources. She needed the approval of her family. I didn't expect a scoundrel like you to have so many good things, Leilan said. Zichen smiled. But I have to remind you that although your luck is good, it is all based on one thing. That is, you are still a core disciple of the Sacred Thunder region. Leilan said solemnly, without this identity, everything you have obtained today will disappear even faster. I know that. As someone who had been through this before, Zichen knew this better than anyone else. He already had a plan in his mind. Zichen said, take me to the Sacred Thunder region. What? Leilan was surprised. I want to see the Sacred Thunder region. You know where he is, right? Zichen looked at Leilan. Leilan said, I know, but the Sacred Thunder region has a weird temper. He might not see you. Take me there. If the Sacred Thunder region doesn't want to see me, then forget it, Zichen said. All right then, come with me. The two returned to the core city. Zichen was surprised and asked, the Sacred Thunder region is in this city? In this world, but not in this city. Then, Leilan took Zichen to another place. There were many teleportation arrays there. One of them was the place where the Sacred Thunder region lived. Leilan was a disciple of the Sacred Thunder region. Those who guarded the teleportation array naturally did not dare to stop her. The two appeared from the teleportation array and saw a small courtyard. The gate of the courtyard was closed and there was no one guarding it. Zichen was surprised and asked, this is the place where the Sacred Thunder region lives. Why is there not even a guard? The Sacred Thunder region needs guards. Leilan walked forward and said, there is a rule in the Sacred Thunder region. If the door cannot be opened, then he will not see anyone. If the door can be opened, then he wants to see you. She walked to the door and said, come and open it. I have been here several times, but it has only been opened once. Zichen walked forward. Before he could push the door open, the door automatically opened from the inside with a creak. Leilan looked forward and saw an old man standing at the door. Butler, are you going out? Leilan asked. The butler smiled and said, the Sacred Thunder region knows that Zichen is here, so he asked me to open the door and welcome you. Leilan was unhappy when she heard that. What? Welcome him personally? Since when did the Sacred Thunder region become so hospitable? The butler smiled and ignored Leilan's disrespect to the Sacred Thunder region. He stepped aside and asked Zichen to come in. Thank you. Zichen cupped his fists and thanked him. Then, he stepped through the door. Leilan followed behind him angrily. She looked at Zichen and could not understand why the Sacred Thunder region cared so much about him. This guy did not have 3 heads and 6 arms. Under the butler's lead, Zichen walked through the courtyard and saw the Sacred Thunder region. What's the matter? The Sacred Thunder region stood up and looked at Zichen. Zichen hesitated. The Sacred Thunder region smiled and said, say it. There are no outsiders here. Only then did Leilan, who was fuming with anger, look slightly better. I want to ask if the Sacred Thunder region has any enemies, Zichen asked. The Sacred Thunder region said, what's the matter? Just say it. Zichen said, I have some friends. I would like to ask the Sacred Thunder region to send them out. Chapter 3396. Leilan did not expect that Zichen came to Lei Di to ask him to be a coolie. In her opinion, asking Lei Di to send someone away was a laborious task in itself. And with her understanding of Lei Di, he would not refuse. What kind of joke was this? Lei Di was famous for his inattentiveness and laziness. He did not care about the Thunder Clan and never developed his force. How could such a person run errands for others? What's more, he was the Saint Venerable Lei Di. Even if she did not regard him as a Saint Venerable, he was still a Saint Venerable. Lei Di was a little surprised. Tell me. Zichen said, I have 2 friends who have the power of the moon. I would like to trouble you to send them to the Moon Clan. Lei Di said, just these 2? Didn't you say you have a lot of friends? Zichen said, one is good at the power of glory, the other is good at the power of stars, one is very talented in the way of the sword, one has the bloodline of the demon race, and some are strange beasts. Zichen said a lot of different power systems in one breath. Lei Lan was almost petrified. This guy really did not regard himself as an outsider. Not only did he ask Lei Di to run errands, but he also treated him as a servant. This was not to send them to one place, but to many places. Even with Lei Di's means, it would take some time to complete. After almost finishing talking about the characteristics of those friends, Zichen said, that's why I asked you, Saint Venerable, if we have any enemies. Lei Di said with a smile, at our level, there are no enemies. Even if the relationship between the 2 sides is not harmonious, it is not a problem to send a few people. Lei Lan looked at Lei Di as if she had seen a ghost. What, was this guy really going to agree? Well, let me think. The people you said who use swords can be sent to the Holy Sword Realm. As for the strange beasts, they can be sent to the Holy Spirit Realm of Beasts. Those with the bloodline of the demon race should be people who have refined the bloodline of the demon race. Then send them to the Blood Devil Hell. Those who have refined the bloodline of the god race should be sent to the Blood Devil Realm. Zichen's face lit up as he said, so, the Holy Senior has agreed. Lei Di said, sending people there is no problem, but with my influence, I'm afraid I can't let them become core disciples like you and get many resources. Zichen shook his head. There's no need for that. We just need to give them a fair environment. Furthermore, all of them are only in the Spirit Ascension tier, and some of them are not even in the Spirit Ascension tier yet. If it's just a request, it's fine. Lei Di nodded. Lei Lan looked at Lei Di in disbelief. She had never seen such an easygoing person. He was even a little too diligent. She even agreed to Zichen's extremely rude and presumptuous request, which had no regard for seniority. At this moment, she couldn't help but wonder if Zichen was Lei Di's illegitimate son. Otherwise, why would he be so good to him? After a moment of hesitation, Zichen said, one more thing. I have a friend who is good at divination. Do you know where to send her? Lei Di said, is she also your fiancée? Zichen nodded. When he introduced Wang Xian and the others, Zichen had said that. Lei Di laughed. I didn't expect you to be so likable. Not only do you have friends, but you also have many female confidants. Not bad, not bad. Zichen scratched his head and laughed foolishly. Silly. Lei Lan curled her lips. She had seen those people. They were definitely first-class beauties with unique temperaments. She couldn't figure out why they would like Zichen. Lei Di said, since that's the case, let me think. If you're good at divination, there is indeed a special place that is suitable for you. But that place is very strict. Even if I send someone there with my status, I may not be able to get those people to accept her. Suddenly, Lei Di's expression changed slightly. He said, you're here. Follow me. As soon as he finished speaking, the 3 of them disappeared from the room. The next moment, Lei Di was standing in the void. Zichen and Lei Lan were standing beside him. A woman was standing in front of them. Her face was covered by a veil, and her body was emitting a hazy light. She was very mysterious. Lei Di, why did you stop me? The woman looked at Lei Di and called his name. Lei Lan was a little surprised. Zichen's expression also changed. This woman was also a holy venerable. I have something to ask of you. I didn't expect you to come, Lei Di said. The woman's eyes flickered. She said in surprise, are you sure? Do you have something to ask of me? Lady nodded. Have you changed? The woman asked again. Lady's expression was a little gloomy. The Holy Master said, well, beg me, be sincere, and I will promise you. Zichen was a little embarrassed. Is she really a holy venerable? Why does she sound like a child? Suddenly, his expression changed again. He looked at Lady differently. Could it be that there was a story between the two of them? Lady snorted and said, forget it if you don't agree. Zichen was dumbfounded. What was this? Lei Lan pointed at her head and then pouted at Lady. She meant that there was something wrong with this guy's head. Lady, you've gone too far. How do you know that I won't agree before you say what you want? The woman was angry. Zichen was very tactful and did not speak at this time. He even retreated and turned his head to look in another direction. As an experienced person, he naturally felt that the atmosphere was a little strange. Lady hesitated for a while and then said gently, there's someone I hope you can accept as your disciple. Who is it? Why are you acting like this? The woman stared at Lady. Her eyes seemed to be looking through him. Lady said, my friend's fiancé. What? The woman's eyes flickered. She said coldly, when did you have a fiancé? You're here to piss me off, aren't you? Lei Lan, who was also retreating, stopped. She was almost petrified. She was not a brainless person. She heard Lady clearly. His friend's fiancé? Wasn't it Su Mengyaro? Who was his friend? Zichen? How could it be? He was just a one-star holy spirit. How could he be a friend of a holy saint? She's my friend's fiancé. Lady said unhappily, you're a holy saint. How could you be deaf? Your friend's fiancé? What's her cultivation level? The woman's voice softened. Lady looked at Zichen. Zichen said, she's just reached the spirit ascension realm. The woman said, hey, Lady. Is he the friend you mentioned? Lady said, can't I? We feel like old friends at first sight. The Holy Master nodded and said, that suits your weird personality. However, this is not a child's play. Lady said, let's wait and see. By the way, why did you come to the Thunderfield? The woman said, I felt something recently, so I came here for a walk. Maybe I'll find something. Follow me to a place first, and then we'll go and see the person you mentioned. Then, light appeared on the woman's body. They disappeared into thin air. The next moment, the four of them appeared in another world. Chapter 3397. Zichen was too familiar with the world in front of him. It was his world. Why did the Holy Saint woman come to his world? Holy Saint, is this the place you want to go? Zichen asked curiously. Can't I? The Holy Saint woman looked at Zichen. Zichen said, of course you can. But why did you come to my world, Holy Saint? What? This is your world? The Holy Saint woman was surprised. Then she sensed the same aura between the two. Haha. Lady suddenly laughed out loud. Lady, what are you laughing at? The Holy Saint woman glared at Lady. Lady said, Shangti, you're not here for a walk. You're here for a disciple, right? Shangti's expression became unnatural after Lady pointed out her purpose. Lady said, that's good. I don't need to owe you a favor. What do you mean? Shangti looked at Lady, but she soon understood the reason. She then looked at Zichen. Is that your fiancé? Zichen said, I don't know who you're talking about, but my fiancé's aura is similar to yours. Let's go. Shangti flashed and disappeared again. The next moment, the four appeared in front of Su Mengyaro. Zichen, why are you back? Su Mengyaro was surprised to see Zichen. Then she noticed Shangti. Her body glowed as if she was facing a great enemy. Not bad, not bad. During this time, that feeling came and went, so I couldn't figure out the direction. Now it seems that it's you. Shangti looked at Su Mengyaro and nodded with satisfaction. Su Mengyao's expression changed. Ever since she broke through, she felt uneasy as if someone was watching her. Not far away, the demon ape and the others also sensed the abnormality and flew over. Lady's gaze swept over them, and he was a little surprised. Although he did not have the divine sense, he was a saint venerate, so his eyesight was naturally extraordinary. He could see the potential of these people with a single glance. Why is it like this? Su Mengyaro looked at Zichen and said worriedly, if I leave, what will happen to this place? Who will manage this world for you? When Shangti explained the reason for his visit and thought that the other party would happily agree, he hit a soft nail on the head. Su Mengyaro refused. Zichen pulled Su Mengyaro aside and was trying to counsel her. Controlling the world is just a small matter. I hope you can become stronger as soon as possible, Zichen said. Su Mengyaro said, you can become stronger anywhere. You don't have to leave. Zichen shook his head and said, it's not the same. Those people in the Sky Evolution Peak are all experts in this field. They are professionals. Once you get there, you will be able to obtain even more powerful cultivation techniques, as well as all sorts of corresponding resources. Su Mengyaro said, what about this place? Once we leave, who will manage your world? Zichen said, now, I am a core disciple, and I have the help of the Thunder Clan. Many people in the Thunder Clan want to befriend me, so I left this place to them to manage. Su Mengyaro shook her head and said, no, you can't trust those people. Zichen said, there is no such thing as trust or not trust. As long as I can continue to grow and become stronger, the people around me will always be trustworthy. Now, as long as I give them some benefits, the cooperation between us will be very pleasant. While Zichen and Su Mengyaro were talking, Shangti, who was with Lei Di, said, Lei Di, I really didn't expect that a one-star saint spirit like you would be so knowledgeable despite your mediocre power. Lei Di said, he's Zichen, not a kid. Plus, eavesdropping on others is not a good habit. Shangti snorted, what do you know? I must have Mengyaro. There can't be any mistakes. What if this kid says something wrong? Let me tell you, this time, no matter what, I will take Mengyaro away. I have already decided that she will be the only successor of my Sky Evolution Peak. Lei Di looked at Shangti in shock. Because he knew Shangti very well. He knew how arrogant Shangti was and how he had never accepted a disciple. But now, not only did he accept a disciple, he even said that he was the only one. Looking at the shocked Lei Di, Shangti said again, don't tell me you haven't seen what kind of people are here. Speaking of which, why are there so many special existences in your world? Lei Di's eyes swept across this world. What entered his eyes was a sea of green. With his eyesight, of course, he could see that these green plants all had spirits. He thought of Lei Tianxia who was killed by him. Could it be that he did all this? Could it be that these people were all chosen by him for Zichen? For the first time, doubts appeared in his heart. Unfortunately, he had already killed him and there was no way to verify it. Looking at the stunned Lei Di, Shangti suddenly transmitted his voice, you are always arrogant and have very few friends. In the Thunder Clan, you have no friends at all. How did you become friends with a one-star saint spirit today? Lei Di was silent and didn't reply. Shangti continued, I heard you say that you didn't like anyone in the Thunder Clan, but you admired one person. Unfortunately, that person has already died. Could it be that that person has returned? Lei Di's expression changed. It's true. Shangti said in shock, didn't you say that he was betrayed and plotted against, and his soul was destroyed? Don't mention this again. Lei Di transmitted his voice. Although countless years had passed, Shangti still remembered the decadent man who had traveled the Saint Spirit realm and saved her life. One time after drinking, when he talked about that person, his decadence in the past was swept away and he was in high spirits. At that time, the man's entire body was glowing as if the sun could illuminate the world. It was also at that time that Shangti, who was only at the Spirit Ascension realm, had light in her eyes. It was as if her world was lit up at that moment. Zichen and Su Mengyaro walked back. Su Mengyao's eyes were filled with tears and reluctance. Wang Xian'er and the others came forward and hugged them. Let's go. We will wait for you to become stronger. Take care. I will miss all of you. Us too. Shangti left with Su Mengyao. In a day, two friends had left. Lei Di looked at Zichen. Zichen said, My lord, please take them away. Lady nodded and turned to look at these people. Zichen clasped his fists at them and said, "Everyone, we will meet again if fate allows it." On this day, Zichen's friends were all taken away by Lady, not a single one was left. Chapter 3398. Zichen and Lei Lan returned to the core city, then returned to the Thunder Room. Zichen was not in a good mood. After all, his friends had all left, and he did not know how long it would be before he could see them again. Lei Lan looked at Zichen, and she somewhat understood why those people were willing to follow him. This was a crucial time for the development of Zichen's world, and it was also the time when people were needed the most, but Zichen had arranged for everyone to leave. Unknowingly, he had given up a lot of benefits. What followed next was a discussion with Liz, but it was actually a negotiation, and Zichen would be forced to take the initiative. This was also a kind of sacrifice. Before Zichen could cultivate, Liz knocked on the door, and Zichen invited her in. Did something happen? Liz looked at Zichen and asked. Zichen said, "My friends have all left, and there are not many people available, so I want your people to enter my world and manage it on my behalf." Regardless of whether Liz had received this news in advance or not, she had a surprised look on her face. She said regretfully, "I just met them, I didn't expect them to leave so soon. As for manpower, you don't have to worry, the Gra family still has many trustworthy people." Zichen nodded and said, "I still have a manager here, your people can discuss with her, but for other things, we won't be able to help much." The powerhouses this time had all left, and even the people who were in charge of dissecting resources were gone. However, Zichen did have a manager here, and that was Jolena. Her realm was still low, so she did not leave for the time being. Without the demon ape and the others, Zichen's world was a completely low-level world, because there were very few people who were comparable to the realm of Celestial. The following discussion went a lot smoother. Zichen took the initiative to give up a part of the benefits, and Jolena accepted it after a while, and the two of them finally reached an agreement. According to the Gra family's information, Liz already knew what happened in Zichen's world before she came. She even knew that those people were taken away by Lei Di's holy sage. This showed the relationship between Zichen and the Lord. At the same time, she also knew that Su Mengyaro, whom she had met before, was taken away by a holy master. It was said that the holy master valued her very much. All these signs were enough to prove that Zichen was not an ordinary person, so Liz, who came with sincerity, would have a pleasant cooperation with Zichen. Liz even said that after gaining a certain amount of popularity in Zichen's world, the jealous family would organize an auction there to gather some popularity. Of course, before that, Zichen's world had to have enough things to attract these people. There was no need for Liz to arrange the rest of the matters, as the Gra family had many professionals in this field. Most importantly, Zichen himself was a core disciple. This identity was very impressive in the sacred Thunder territory. Apart from this, the most important point was that Thunder Earth Saint Venerable treated Zichen extremely well. Normally, Thunder Earth Saint Venerable would not care about the matters of the Thunder clan. He was an independent individual. However, the Gra family saw an opportunity to befriend Thunder Earth Saint Venerable. Of course, they were not willing to miss it. After sending Liz away, Zichen continued to refine the resources. News regarding him also began to spread rapidly. After all, to fight above his level and almost kill Hu Wei, who should have been a core disciple, was a display of strength in itself. Not to mention that it was a 1-star battle against a 2-star battle. The forces that did not care about Zichen before began to pay attention to Zichen. The news that Zichen's world was in the outer region also spread quickly. This made many forces have the idea of befriending Zichen. No matter what they secretly thought, it was necessary to show goodwill on the surface. Unfortunately, Zichen did not meet with anyone. There were people from the Gra family in his world who had full authority, which made many people feel that it was difficult. After careful investigation, they decided to take a step back and meet the person in charge, Jolena, who was currently at a very low level. "Why me?" Xian Changye stared at Liz in front of him and said coldly, "Do you know what I paid in order to get that spot?" I worked hard to kill demons and made various contributions to the Thunder Territory to get the opportunity to go to the Tree of Lightning. Why should I give it to others? Liz glanced at the agitated Xian Changye and said indifferently, "It's useless to argue with me about this. I'm just in charge of passing the message." Xian Changye said angrily, "This is unfair. The sacred Thunder Territory has always been known to be fair. Where is the fairness now?" Liz looked at Xian Changye as if she was looking at an idiot. Yes, the sacred Thunder Territory has always been fair, so the opportunity to go to the Tree of Lightning has always been occupied by the families with great contributions. Hearing the meaning behind Liz's words, Xian Changye said angrily, "Why me? Wasn't my opportunity exchanged with contribution points?" Liz said, "Didn't I say that the contribution points will be returned to you?" Xian Changye said angrily, "No, I want to delay the time. Give me the next opportunity." Liz shook her head. "I don't have the final say on this." Xian Changye said angrily, "You've gone too far, you've gone too far. Do you think there's no one in my Xian family?" Liz said, "I don't know if there's anyone in your Xian family. I only know that this opportunity for Zi Chen to enter the Tree of Lightning was requested by the sage. If you have any objections, you can discuss with the sage. What is fair?" With that, Liz smiled. "But I don't think you dare to go, because if the sage knows the inside door, maybe your Xian family will lose the qualification forever." With that, Liz left. Fair. Not to mention the sacred Thunder Territory, even in the whole Saint Spirit world, there was no absolute fairness. Everything was based on resources and strength. What was fair? Fairness meant that everyone had a chance. But in the sacred Thunder Territory, the opportunity to enter the Tree of Lightning was always for the core disciples. Even among the core disciples, there were some ranks and differences. This time, Sage Lei Di had spoken, and after careful consideration, the higher-ups had taken away Xian Changye's opportunity. In Liz's view, this was actually a kind of relative fairness. Because the opportunity was given to him, it was a great injustice. When she thought of their dirty dealings in private, Liz's heart was full of disgust. Zi Chen was refining the few remaining resources. His realm was steadily increasing, and he had not encountered a bottleneck. As time passed, the aura around Zi Chen's body became more and more tyrannical. Buzz. At a certain moment, his strength reached a critical point, and then a new change occurred. This was a transformation. Zi Chen had officially advanced from a 1-star Holy Spirit to a 2-star Holy Spirit. Chapter 3399. The aura of a 2-star Saint Spirit was released, causing the spiritual energy in the room to vibrate continuously. Countless streaks of pure lightning energy appeared and were absorbed by Zi Chen's body. Zi Chen's entire body was glowing. Every pore on his body seemed to have opened up and was devouring the energy from the thunder symbol room. At this moment, a steady stream of lightning energy surged into Zi Chen's body without any signs of exhaustion. The uniqueness of the thunder symbol room was fully displayed at this moment. As long as Zi Chen could devour energy, this room could continue to provide lightning energy. Under the same roof, Lei Lan sensed the abnormality of this room. She was shocked when she opened her eyes and sensed it carefully. Zi Chen had broken through? How long had it been? At the same time, a strong sense of danger arose in her heart. This was because the 2-star Zi Chen's combat power was even stronger, and he might not need her. After staying in this room for so long, Lei Lan increasingly felt the value of the thunder symbol and was even more reluctant to part with it. In order to seize the time, she did not investigate Zi Chen's breakthrough and continued to cultivate quietly. Zi Chen's breakthrough lasted for a long time. During this time, a steady stream of energy flowed into his body and was absorbed by the lightning physique, abdomen's lightning fusion, and a part of it strengthened his soul. Lei Lan felt more and more pressured and wanted to break through as soon as possible. After the breakthrough was complete, Zi Chen got off the bed and stretched his body. He did not expect to break through so quickly. It was inseparable from this room and the resources provided by the Thunder Clan. Now, Zi Chen truly felt the benefits of being a disciple of a big faction. He did nothing when he came to the Thunder Clan and received resources to break through to the 2-star realm. When Xian Changye returned to the family and informed them of this matter, The Xian family's patriarch was furious. The Xian family's patriarch was a 9-star saint spirit, an existence second only to the saint venerables. He was strong enough to create a big faction in the saint spirit realm. After knowing the cause and effect, the Xian family's patriarch was not intimidated by the Thunder Clan's saint venerable. He had stayed in the Thunder Clan for too long, so he was very clear about the various rules of the Thunder Clan. Sitting in an armchair, the Xian ancestor gently knocked on the table. After a moment of silence, he said, "The tree of the lightning ancestor is of great importance. In order to obtain the quota this time, we lost a lot of benefits. We can't afford to lose anything." Xian Changye wanted to say something but was interrupted by the patriarch. "Since the resources have been taken away, it's up to me to decide whether or not to take them back. All of them are cunning enough to not want to offend anyone." The Xian ancestor sneered, "If that's the case, then we'll use this chance to drag them all over and force them to stand on the same side as the Xian clan." "Ancestor, what do you want to do?" Xian Changye asked. "It's simple. We won't accept it. Now, go to the core holy city and challenge that Zichen. Try to make a big deal out of this." The Xian forefather smirked. "Let's see how they're going to wrap things up." The old steward of the Thunder Earth Saint Manor rarely left the manor. He was rarely seen in the holy city. But these days, he had a rare moment of leisure and often wandered around the city. He'd served the Thunder Earth Saint for many years. Though he kept a low profile, he was very famous in the Thunderfield. It was said that his strength was unfathomable. He didn't even care about the average family head. "Steward Mo, long time no see." An old man walked over and greeted Steward Mo warmly. "Steward Liu, why are you here today?" Steward Mo smiled at the old man in front of him. "I'm here to take care of some matters. I didn't expect to see you here." "Why? Don't you need to stay by the sacred sovereign's side?" Steward Liu asked. He was a member of the Liu family. Since Steward Mo knew his name, he obviously had a high status. Steward Mo smiled. "The sacred sovereign went out, so I came out for a walk." "Oh, if you're not in a hurry to go back, then let's go have a drink," Steward Liu said with a smile. "Sure." Steward Liu walked out of the tavern with a slightly red face. After bidding farewell to Steward Mo, he left the core holy city. This time, he gained a lot. His relationship with Steward Mo improved. At the same time, he also found out what he wanted to know. The news quickly reached the Xian family's patriarch. "The sacred sovereign is not here, and won't be back anytime soon." A light flashed in the Xian family's patriarch's eyes. "Since you don't want to cause trouble, then leave it to us. No one can run away when the time comes." The Xian family's patriarch immediately summoned Xian Changye, telling him to go to the core holy city in 2 days to ask for his resources. 2 days passed quickly. Xian Changye arrived at the core holy city and went straight to the Thunder Room. He stopped in front of room 23. "Zichen, come out." He triggered the restriction. After a while, Zichen opened the door and saw an angry stranger standing outside. "You're looking for me?" Zichen looked at him. "Thief, you stole my spot to enter the tree of the lightning ancestor." Xian Changye directly stated his purpose. "Do you dare to accept my challenge like a normal member of the Thunder Clan? We'll decide who gets the spot based on combat strength." Zichen frowned slightly when he sensed the other party's energy fluctuation. 3-star? Xian Changye said, "If you're afraid, I can suppress my realm and fight you." Zichen walked out of the room. "That's not necessary. But do you know about my battle with Hu Wei?" "I'm not Hu Wei." "Don't compare me with him," Xian Changye said unhappily. "I want to tell you that a situation like Hu Wei can only happen once. If you try to kill me in the name of a competition, then sorry, I'll kill you first. And I can guarantee that no one will be able to save you this time." Zichen looked at Xian Changye and said, "Because I'm very vengeful. Unless you disappear from the Saint Spirit realm forever, I'll kill you even if you run to the ends of the earth." Hearing Zichen's words, Xian Changye couldn't help but shudder, as if he was being targeted by a great monster. The battlefield was ready, and many people had come to watch the battle. Among them was Grace. After learning the whole story, she said, "Zichen, the spot is yours. There's no need to compete with him. Zichen said, it's okay. I'll just take it as a warm-up exercise. The battlefield opened, and the two entered the temporary battlefield. Zichen looked at Xian Changye and said, you don't have to suppress your realm. 3-star is just right. After saying that, a powerful aura was released from his body. He was a 2-star Holy Spirit. Amidst the exclamations, Zichen rushed toward Xian Changye. Energy roared, and the battle broke out. After a quarter of an hour, Xian Changye fell at Zichen's feet and coughed up blood. Chapter 3400. Xian Changye fell to the ground with a dispirited look on his face. He was no longer as arrogant as before. Before coming here, the ancestor had specifically instructed that as long as there was no killing intent, he could fight however he wanted. He had used all his strength and all the techniques he had learned from the Thunder Tree, but he still couldn't suppress Zichen. He only lasted 15 minutes in this battle. That's right, he persisted. Because from the beginning, he was suppressed by Zichen. The surroundings were quiet. Everyone stared at Zichen with complicated expressions. Some were shocked, and some were confused. Xian Changye was a core disciple and had gone through layers of screening. Even if he used some connections, he was still a 3-star saint. His combat strength, even if he couldn't look down on those of the same level, was still outstanding. But he couldn't defeat Zichen, a 2-star saint spirit. After 15 minutes of continuous fighting, Zichen had consumed a lot of energy, and his face was slightly pale. The 3-star Xian Changye was much more difficult to fight than the 2-star Hu Wei. He had used the power of the demon bone. The independent battlefield space disappeared, and Zichen landed on the ground. He looked at Grace and asked, has my quota been allocated? Grace nodded heavily, looking quite excited. The stronger Zichen was, the happier she would be as an ally. If you want to comprehend it, you can do it at any time. Zichen said, then let's do it now. He won this battle, but he also saw how extraordinary Xian Changye was. Moreover, the Thunder Clan's battle technique used by Xian Changye was somewhat different from his. Even the same thunder flash was somewhat different. The spot has been decided. Come with me. Zichen walked forward, and everyone looked at him. Zichen had fought 2 people who were at a higher cultivation level than him. This was enough to show how powerful Zichen was. In the entire Sacred Thunder region, such an existence was definitely among the top. Once this group of people grew up, their future achievements would definitely be limitless. In the crowd, Lei Lan watched Zichen leave, and her expression became complicated. Her sense of crisis was even stronger. As for the loser, Xian Changye, no one paid attention to him anymore. All the plans of the Xian family's ancestor came to an end after Xian Changye was defeated. Extraordinary indeed. Steward Mo smiled as he watched Zichen leave. Grace took Zichen to the place where special resources were distributed. As she said to Xian Changye, she was just a messenger. As for the resources of the Tree of the Lightning Ancestor, she was not allowed to touch it. There were people in charge of it. Grace motioned for Zichen to go in by himself while she waited outside. Zichen walked into a room where a woman was sitting. She looked very young and was wearing a rarely seen daoist robe. When Zichen came in, she was tidying up the materials with her head lowered. Zichen said, "Excuse me, my name is Zichen. I'm here to get a spot to enter the Tree of the Lightning Ancestor." The woman raised her head and saw Zichen. Surprise flashed across her eyes. "Give me your core disciple token." The woman put down her work and looked at Zichen. Zichen took out the token and handed it to her. After verifying the token, the woman opened the drawer in front of her. Lightning flashed in the drawer as if a space had been opened. Then, a leaf appeared in the woman's hand. The leaf had an irregular shape with clear veins and was emitting a dark green light. "This is the spot. Take it and you can enter the Tree of the Lightning Ancestor. Otherwise," the woman's voice paused, "there is no other way. Go." Zichen took the green leaf, thanked her and turned to leave. After Zichen left, the woman pondered, "Only 2 stars. Interesting." Grace, who was waiting outside, saw Zichen come out and asked curiously, "How was it?" Zichen took out the leaf in his hand. "Is this it?" Grace nodded with envy in her eyes. Is this rare? Zichen noticed the change in Grace's expression. The leaf of the tree of the lightning ancestor, do you think it's rare? Grace asked back. Zichen asked curiously, the leaves of the tree of the lightning ancestor are plucked. Grace's expression changed when she heard this. She looked around. You want to die? You dare to say such a thing? Zichen was puzzled. What's wrong with that? The tree of the lightning ancestor is the oldest ancestral tree of the lightning clan. It's even older than the current ancestor. Do you know where these leaves come from? They fall from the tree of the lightning ancestor. Each leaf represents a chance. Moreover, they only fall once every 100 years. The number varies. Hearing Grace's words, Zichen was even more puzzled. How many leaves fall each time? A few hundred. A few hundred. Only you can think of that. 20 leaves is a big harvest. Sometimes, only a few leaves fall. Grace said seriously. How big is the tree of the lightning ancestor that it only drops a few leaves? Zichen was even more puzzled. I haven't seen it before, so I can't give you an answer. Go see for yourself. Really? You haven't seen it before? Under normal circumstances, it's almost impossible for a 3-star Holy Spirit to get a spot. Even if they can get it, they won't be willing to use it. Why? Because the higher the level, the greater the harvest inside the tree of the lightning ancestor. Some people don't use it for themselves after getting it. Instead, they hand it over to their family and even use it as their family's heritage. Zichen was speechless. Grace said, actually, I also want to advise you not to waste this opportunity. Go in when you're stronger. If you want to learn the lightning clan's techniques, the tree of the holy lightning can satisfy you. Before coming here, Zichen had some understanding of the tree of the holy lightning. It was a low-grade lightning tree. Although it couldn't be compared to the tree of the lightning ancestor, it could still comprehend powerful lightning techniques. Zichen shook his head and said, no need. This is a rare opportunity. I want to go in and see how big the tree of the lightning ancestor is. Looking at Zichen's indifferent expression, Grace reminded him, don't have any other ideas. The leaves from the tree of the holy lightning are cleaned by someone. It's not your turn yet. Also, it's impossible to pick some leaves from the tree of the holy lightning. It's equivalent to pulling the hair of the most senior ancestor in the family. It's too audacious and will be severely punished. Zichen touched his nose and said, am I such an unreliable person? Grace said again, if you still want to rely on the lightning ancestor, I advise you to give up. The lightning ancestor does have great authority, but if the lightning clan wants to operate normally, they have their own rules. It's impossible for them to compromise every time. Zichen smiled and said, don't worry, I'm not that bad. Besides, I know it's very precious, but I want to go in and take a look. The tree of the lightning ancestor was known as one of the biggest secrets of the holy lightning domain. Now that he finally had the chance to see it, Zichen didn't want to miss it. Besides, what's the use of keeping it? To use it as a heritage? Or to leave it for his descendants? It seemed that his fiancés had all left and he didn't have a chance to have descendants. Seeing that Zichen had made up his mind, Grace could only bring him to the location of the tree of the lightning ancestor. The space in front is it. Only those who have thunder leave can enter. Others can't enter. Under Grace's signal, Zichen took thunder leave and walked forward. A ripple appeared in front of him. When the ripple came into contact with his body, the thunder leave in Zichen's hand shone. Chapter 34:01. The light released by thunder leave enveloped Zichen's body as he walked forward. Ripples surged as he walked into a space. The space wasn't very big, and there was an ancient tree inside. The ancient tree had lush branches and leaves, and its roots were intertwined like dragons, exuding an ancient aura. Thunder leave in Zichen's hand dissipated in this space. Buzz! In an instant, lightning erupted from the ancient tree in front of him, as if countless lightning snakes were swimming around. A strong pressure fell from the ancient tree. Looking at this scene, Zichen's face was full of shock. Yes. It was shock. It wasn't shock that he finally saw the most mysterious tree of lightning, but the countless leaves on the tree of lightning. Each leaf was a chance, So how many chances did he have now? The tree of lightning wasn't tall, but it was extremely thick, with lush branches and leaves that drooped down. Some places were within reach. Zichen's expression changed. How could this be? There were so many Thunder Leave, but why were there so few chances in the Thunder Clan? In the dazzling lightning, Zichen made another discovery, and his expression immediately changed. Are those fruits? Under the cover of Thunder Leave, Zichen saw some fruits. They were strangely shaped and not uniform. Some were like bowls, some were like bottles, some were like swords, and some were like ancient lamps. The tree of lightning bears fruits. What would happen if he swallowed them? At this moment, Zichen's heart was burning, and he was eager to try. This was because he could obtain the nearest fruit without expending too much effort. But after thinking about it, Zichen didn't make a move in the end. Because he suspected that this was a trap, or a test to see if his mind was firm. Because the sacred thunder region had existed for a long time, but there weren't many opportunities to comprehend the tree of lightning. Even an existence like Liz didn't get a chance. Moreover, Liz had warned him in advance not to have any ideas about Thunder Leave. Zichen looked at Thunder Leave, who was just inches away from him. He was increasingly convinced that his guess was correct. He snorted as a cold smile appeared on the corners of his mouth. Trying to use such a method to deceive me is simply too low level. After all, Zichen had seen too many schemes along the way. This test was nothing at all. No matter how tempting it is, my heart will not be moved. At this time, the tree of the lightning ancestor trembled, and several pieces of Thunder Leave fell down, scattering in all directions. Zichen's expression changed, but he remained unmoved. It seemed that this was still a test. It was merely a dozen leaves. He had already given up on the tree full of leaves, so why would he care about these? Looks like it's a test of perseverance and willpower. Zichen thought to himself. He ignored the Thunder Leave and walked forward. Right at this moment, another ripple appeared before them, and another person walked in. It was a young boy who looked to be only 5 or 6 years old. His lips were red and his teeth were white. He looked like a delicate porcelain doll. He was obviously a boy, but he was unbelievably beautiful. As soon as he appeared, he saw the Thunder Leave on the ground. His eyes lit up and he was about to pick it up. Ahem. Zichen coughed softly. The sudden sound startled the other party. The beautiful young boy immediately raised his head. After seeing Zichen in front of him, his eyes immediately widened as if he had seen a ghost. Zichen said, "What are you looking at?" The young boy retreated, and there was obvious surprise in his eyes. Zichen immediately stepped forward. "You want to run? At first, I thought you came here to comprehend. Now it seems that you're not here to comprehend. You're actually a thief." The child retreated to the roots of the tree of the lightning ancestor. Only then did the surprise in his eyes lessen. He began to size up Zichen, puzzled and surprised. Zichen was also looking at him. He found that the child was still fearless after being exposed by him. Zichen frowned slightly. Why would a child without any power in his body come to this place? Obviously, something was wrong. After thinking about it, Zichen decided to ignore him and comprehend first. So, he sat down cross-legged. At this moment, the child squatted down and began to pick up the Thunder Leave. "I know, this is still a test." Zichen suddenly opened his eyes and stared at the child with a cold gaze. "You're so young, yet you don't learn good things. How dare you learn to steal from others? Don't think that I won't beat you just because you're a child. Leave now and avoid physical pain." The young boy in front of him spoke for the first time. His voice was young, but there was a sense of maturity in it. "You dare to hit me?" As he spoke, he put away the Thunder Leave. "Put down the Thunder Leave," Zichen said in a deep voice. "I won't." The young boy looked at Zichen with a mocking expression. "What can you do to me? I'll beat you up." Zichen's body flashed, and he appeared next to the other party. Seeing Zichen disappear, the young boy widened his eyes again, as if he had seen something unbelievable. Zichen arrived next to the other party and kicked the other party's butt. "Ouch." The young boy staggered forward a few steps. "You're so young, yet you don't learn good things. Now, I'll teach you a lesson on behalf of your elders. I didn't even take the thunder leave here, so how can you take it? As Zichen spoke, he kicked the other parties but a few more times. Of course, he didn't use too much strength and didn't hurt the other party. Stop. Stop it for this old man, I'm your father's ancestor. The young boy screamed repeatedly. Zichen, who had originally planned to teach the other party a lesson, couldn't help but show anger on his face. He gradually increased the strength of his kicks. Improper conduct and disrespect for seniority, you deserve to be kicked. Zichen did not hold back at all as he stomped on Li Yundong's body. Stop, kid, I'm really your father's ancestor, the young boy shouted, but his voice was too young. I'm your father's ancestor. Zichen increased the strength of his kicks, causing the other party to spin under the tree of the lightning ancestor. What the hell? How did a brat like you get here? The little boy shouted, this is the territory of this ancestor, who let you come here? Also, I'm not only your father's ancestor, but also your grandfather and your whole family's ancestor. Little brat, I'm your ancestor. Zichen was so angry that he kept increasing the strength of his kicks. This child's skin was rough and his butt wasn't swollen yet. Grandson, I'm really your ancestor, I'm not lying. This is my territory. This is the tree of the lightning ancestor. I'm here to comprehend it. Zichen didn't lose out at all. I'm really your ancestor. My name is Yimai. If you don't believe me, you can ask around. Yimai was anxious. I'm your ancestor. My name is Zichen. If you don't believe me, ask around. I'm your whole family's ancestor. Of course, Zichen wouldn't listen to the other party's nonsense, nor would he let the other party take advantage of him. However, just as his voice fell, the tree of the lightning ancestor suddenly released an even more powerful thunder might. The leaves of the tree of the lightning ancestor rustled as the wind blew. Zichen felt a tyrannical aura fall on his body. As for the little boy from before, he screamed in horror and immediately disappeared. At the same time, in the core city, some powerful beings who were in seclusion all woke up from their seclusion and opened their eyes. They all turned their heads and looked in a certain direction. Chapter 3402. A tyrannical aura spread out. Only some powerhouses in the Holy Thunder region could feel it. What's going on? The commander who was playing chess with the city lord couldn't help but change his expression. The city lord carefully sensed it. Then, his expression changed. It seems that the Thunder Ancestor has awakened. The commander's expression changed. Who disturbed the Thunder Ancestor? The City Lord said, it's time for the Thunder Leaf to appear. Perhaps Ancestor Yi knows something. Let's go and take a look. The next moment, the two disappeared. In the Holy Thunder Clan, there were many old ancestors. However, there were only a few recognized old ancestors in the Holy Thunder region. The Thunder Ancestor Tree was one of them. It was recognized as the Ancestor Tree and was older than everyone in the Thunder Clan. Thunder Saint was also considered one, but he never claimed to be the Thunder Ancestor. Lei Zhangke, who brought Zichen back, was known as the strongest old ancestor of the Thunder Clan. Then there were the Bloodline and Spirit Ancestors. The Bloodline and Spirit Ancestors were very mysterious. No one knew their origins. They only knew that their status was not low. Among them, the Bloodline Ancestor was in charge of the Thunder Leaf quota. When the City Lord and the Commander arrived at the Bloodline Ancestor's location, they heard the Bloodline Ancestor cursing, "This bastard dares to disrespect the old ancestor. I will punish him." The Bloodline Ancestor's voice was very young. It was the little boy who had been kicked by Zichen. Beside him stood several old men. When they heard the Bloodline Ancestor's experience, they didn't know whether to laugh or cry. These old men were in charge of the resource distribution of the core disciples. Their status was extremely high. But in front of the Bloodline Ancestor, they didn't even dare to straighten their backs. Bloodline Ancestor, I felt something strange with the Ancestor Tree. What happened? The City Lord stepped forward and asked, his attitude very polite. Yimai jumped to the high platform nearby and looked at the City Lord. A bastard woke up the Thunder Ancestor. The City Lord was surprised. How did he wake up? That bastard was standing under the tree of the lightning ancestor. He took advantage of my unpreparedness to launch a sneak attack on me. Moreover, he shouted under the thunder ancestor tree and disturbed me. See if I don't beat him up. Yimai said angrily. As one of the people with the highest status in the Holy Thunder region, when had he ever been so sullen? That's not right. The city lord frowned slightly. The lightning ancestor's true body is not something that ordinary people can approach. Do you think I would lie? This time, it was that damned bastard who alarmed the ancestor. Oh right, I remember now. That damned bastard said his name was Zichen. Yimai said angrily, awakening the lightning ancestor is an unforgivable crime. Hearing Patriarch Yi's words, the group of elders exchanged glances, their faces filled with shock. Of course, they knew who Zichen was. After all, they were the ones who had discussed and allocated the spot. But why was Zichen, who should have been meditating, under the tree of the lightning ancestor? The city lord and the commander also exchanged glances. They also knew of Zichen, but they were also puzzled. How could Zichen directly reach the tree of the lightning ancestor? And he even beat up Patriarch Leaf. In that place, Patriarch Leaf should have the advantage. The several saint sovereigns of the lightning clan were also looking in the direction of the tree of the lightning ancestor. The Patriarch Lei Zhangke, whom Zichen had met before, muttered to himself, was it awakened by him? Zichen felt a strong pressure coming from the tree of the lightning ancestor. The pressure made him breathless, and his bones felt like they were about to shatter. The tree of the lightning ancestor seemed to have turned into a peerless monster, terrifying everyone. The surrounding space began to twist and distort. Zichen looked up at the tree of the lightning ancestor, his eyes filled with shock. Thunder leaf rustled down, and at a glance, there were more than 100 of them. Zichen swallowed his saliva. He wanted to take the opportunity to collect some, but he found that he couldn't move his body. Just when Zichen felt that his life would be affected by suffocation at any time, the terrible pressure finally disappeared. Zichen exhaled heavily. A piece of thunder leaf fell from his head, floating in front of him. He caught it and put it away. The tree of the lightning ancestor calmed down. Who are you? A spiritual wave was transmitted into Zichen's sea of consciousness. Zichen. Zichen said. He wasn't surprised. Such an ancient existence would naturally have spiritual wisdom. Why are you here? The tree of the lightning ancestor asked again. I'm here to comprehend the thunder skill, Zichen said. The branches trembled, but this time, no thunder leaf fell. At this time, there were a lot of thunder leaf on the ground. Zichen scratched his head and asked, I just don't know how to comprehend it. Patriarch, please tell me. Close your eyes and sense it carefully. Zichen thanked it and closed his eyes. He no longer spoke and carefully sensed his surroundings. Thunder fell from above, enveloping Zichen's body. At this time, a pair of eyes appeared on the tree of the lightning ancestor, which was looking at Zichen below. As his mood gradually calmed down, the scene in front of Zichen began to change. He was standing in a void. There were countless balls of light rotating in the void, and the power of thunder flew out from time to time. Zichen looked at these lightning balls with confusion in his eyes. He was very puzzled. The lightning balls emitted strange fluctuations, and Zichen released his spiritual sense to perceive them. However, as soon as his spiritual sense extended, it was blocked by a strange force. Zichen tried several times in a row, but there was no effect. However, the moment he was blocked by the strange force, he felt something strange. Then, his eyes widened in disbelief. Are these lightning balls the Thunder Clan's skill that I want to comprehend? Visually, there were so many lightning balls here that it was like an endless star field. With so many Thunder Clan skills, which one should he comprehend? Zichen immediately released his spiritual sense and extended it into the distance. In a very distant place, he felt a familiar fluctuation. His spiritual sense extended to the place where the familiar fluctuation was. It was a bright lightning ball. From a distance, there was nothing unusual, but as his spiritual sense approached, he found that this light ball was much brighter than the others. Zichen's spiritual sense probed it and was not repelled during this time. Just as his spiritual sense probed the light ball, A ray of light fell from the tree of the lightning ancestor and directly entered Zi Chen's sea of consciousness. It was a Thunder Clan's body refining technique, the sacred Thunder body refining technique. The technique appeared in his sea of consciousness, accompanied by the method of power circulation. Zi Chen carefully perceived it, and a moment later, he was surprised to find that this technique was almost the same as the Thunder body, or rather, the advanced and complete version of the Thunder body. Because of the foundation of the Thunder body, Zi Chen comprehended the sacred Thunder body refining technique not long after. His consciousness left the light ball, and his spiritual sense continued to spread out. Then, he found a second familiar light ball. As Zi Chen's spiritual sense probed, a second ray of light fell from the tree of the lightning ancestor. Chapter 3403. The tree of the lightning ancestor had existed for too long, and it had seen countless Thunder tribe geniuses come here to comprehend. But the best-case scenario was to obtain a powerful Thunder skill and leave. The worst-case scenario was to not obtain a single skill. It could not be said that there were no people in history who could obtain 2 Thunder skills, but the number was extremely small. The second Thunder skill that Zi Chen obtained was called the 9 Flash of Holy Thunder. This was the Thunder Flash that he comprehended, but it was a higher-level existence that required the power of the sacred spirit to use. It was similar to the 9 Flash of Holy Thunder in the past. The Thunder Flash was a recognized speed battle skill of the Thunder tribe. Many people had mastered it, but most of them came from the Tree of Holy Thunder, so it was obviously different from the 9 Flash of Holy Thunder. The latter was more complete, and because it came from the Tree of the Lightning Ancestor, it was even more extraordinary. Because of the 9 Flash of Holy Thunder as a foundation, the 9 Flash of Holy Thunder was not difficult for Zi Chen. It did not take long for him to understand it, but as for how long it would take to master it, it would depend on Zi Chen's comprehension. The Tree of the Lightning Ancestor had been silently watching Zi Chen. At this moment, its exposed eyes were filled with a myriad of thoughts. It was as if it had returned to that scene in the past. A handsome and proud man stood under the Tree of the Lightning Ancestor and said confidently, "In this life, I will definitely find that secret and reach an unparalleled realm. I will make the world look up to me and make gods and demons tremble." At that time, he was arrogant and unruly, but he also had the capital to be proud of his absolute confidence. He deserved to be powerful and looked down on all living beings. He did not have love, and he did not have a confidant. There were only 2 people by his side, and only those 2 people. One day, on the ground, those 2 people followed him on his left and right, trying their best to chase after his footsteps. It was very difficult for them to walk. The last scene was when his body exploded and lightning filled the sacred spirit realm. A vast power descended from the sky, annihilating all the scattered light of life and extinguishing all possibility of his resurrection. The Tree of the Lightning Ancestor, who was filled with emotion, discovered that the 3rd bolt of lightning descended. It's the Thunder Blade manipulation. The Tree of the Lightning Ancestor was enlightened. It seems that you have mastered it long ago, and it can't be considered a true skill. I just don't know what you'll be able to comprehend this time. Thunder Body, Thunder Flash, and Thunder Blade were all techniques that Zi Chen had mastered. Moreover, they came from the Life Star. Right now, he had a new understanding of these 3 techniques. Once he mastered them, his battle prowess would definitely rise to another level. However, up until now, Zi Chen had not comprehended a new Thunder skill. Zi Chen's soul was still wandering around the lightning ball. There were many techniques here, but all of them were repelling him. After a series of fruitless attempts, Zi Chen's face showed dissatisfaction. He stood under the countless lightning balls, looked up at the sky, and shouted, "What is this? I'm here to comprehend the lightning skill. Can't you just give me a random one? Don't say that the previous 3 were given to me because I already knew them. Now, I need a new lightning skill, a powerful one." Zi Chen's voice reverberated in the air, echoing back and forth in the air. It would have been better if he hadn't said anything. As the echoes disappeared, the lightning balls disappeared one after another. "What are you doing? Hey, wait. Just give me any one. I don't expect too much. Fist technique, palm technique, or finger technique are all good." Zi Chen shouted, "The sword control technique is also good." I said, Just give me any one. As his voice echoed, the lightning balls disappeared faster. Zichen was enraged, but he couldn't do anything about it. I don't believe it. He wasn't willing to give up. He released his spirit consciousness one more time, extending it to the outside world. He wanted to use his spirit consciousness to keep a lightning ball. You don't want to give me any, do you? Then I'll force you to give me one. Zichen's spirit consciousness was said to be perfect. It didn't have any flaw. Buzz. His mind flickered, and his spirit consciousness turned into a big net, blocking more than 10 lightning balls. Those lightning balls started to hit the big net, and the strong energy shook unceasingly. During this time, 5 of them broke the big net and disappeared. However, the rest of them were tightly bound by the big net. Seeing this method work, Zichen immediately signaled his spirit consciousness to return. Swoosh, swoosh. During this time, more lightning balls disappeared into thin air. Lock them up. Zichen was furious. The big net of spirit consciousness spread out, tied up the remaining 5 lightning balls individually, and then dragged them in this direction. At the same time, Zichen used Thunder Flash and approached the front. As he got closer and closer to those lightning balls, Zichen couldn't help but reveal a satisfied smile on his face. This time, he locked up 5 of them. Even if he didn't take all of them down, even if he took down 2 of them, it would be a big profit. However, before the smile on Zichen's face could fully spread, he saw that the 5 lightning balls that were tightly locked up disappeared into thin air. Zichen was stunned, and the anger on his face grew. When he raised his head, there wasn't even a single lightning ball in the entire space. This indicated that Zichen was no longer fated with the lightning skills here. What was this? A trip for nothing? Just as Zichen was extremely unwilling to give up, he saw a ray of light appear in the sky. As if a sharp blade had cut through space, light appeared. It was the light of endless lightning, and it was so dazzling that Zichen couldn't help but close his eyes. However, he forced himself to hold on and didn't close his eyes, because he wanted to see what exactly had appeared. Perhaps it was an opportunity. Zichen opened his eyes and looked at the sky. A ray of lightning fell and entered Zichen's eyes. In an instant, there was a roar of thunder, and Zichen felt a stinging pain in his eyes. The moment the lightning entered his eyes, a shining fruit under the tree of the lightning ancestor suddenly trembled a few times. It detached itself from the tree of the lightning ancestor and slowly fell down. The falling fruit gradually decomposed, turning into a ball of energy and entering Zichen's eyes. In the next moment, lightning flashed on Zichen's body. Countless bolts of lightning appeared in his body, shining with a brilliant golden light. That was the fusion of golden lightning, which was also Zichen's power of abdomen. A wisp of this power flew out, with countless rules lingering on it, and merged with the power of the fruit, and then entered Zichen's eyes. In an instant, Zichen's eyes were already flashing with lightning. Seeing this scene, the tree of lightning revealed a strange look in its eyes. This is an eye technique dominated by rules, but I don't know what kind of rules are dominant. Obviously, even the tree of lightning couldn't understand at this moment. This kind of eye technique was weak and strong, and it couldn't see through it before it was completely formed. This was the technique that Zichen had comprehended, the eye of rule. At this moment, Zichen opened his eyes. His eyes flickered with silver light, releasing the power of lightning. He saw the pair of eyes on the tree of lightning at a glance. Chapter 3404. Zichen's eyes were full of lightning as he looked at the tree of lightning. However, the tree of lightning didn't notice any abnormality from Zichen's eyes. It was as if this eye technique had no power at all. Zichen had once mastered an eye technique called the yin-yang eye. It was very strange. However, after yin and yang merged, this eye technique disappeared. He, who had similar experience, couldn't remain calm at this moment. What was the use of this eye technique that he had mastered? In his eyes, the lightning disappeared, leaving only doubts. Lightning ancestor, what did I comprehend? Zichen asked. It should be the eye of rule, said the lightning ancestor. Then what is it? What special effect does it have? Zichen asked again. I previously observed the power of thunder in your body. There are many rules fused, and I wanted to see which rule is dominant. If it's the rule of thunder, then it has the power of thunder. Otherwise, it's something else. Hearing the Tree of Lightning's words, Zichen tried again, but he didn't find any rule dominating. Go back and try again. Zichen smiled. He wasn't in a hurry. Today's harvest was not small, and he was already very satisfied. He sat directly on the ground, propped his hands behind his back, and looked up at the Tree of Lightning above. The calm gaze of the Tree of Lightning changed again, and there was obvious shock. Yes, it was shock. To make the oldest lightning ancestor reveal such an expression, it was obviously Zichen who did something. Why do you need to do this? The lightning ancestor spoke again. Huh. Zichen was puzzled. He was obviously pretending to be stupid. If you want to come in the future, just come. There's no need to do this, the lightning ancestor said, his mood fluctuating. Was the person in front of him really the same person? Zichen, who was secretly collecting the thunder leaf, couldn't help blushing. Really? You can come at any time. You don't need these. Hey, why are you still collecting? The Tree of Lightning's voice changed. Zichen said, I see that there are a lot of thunder leaf here. I don't want them to dry up and be wasted. This excuse made the Tree of Lightning not know whether to laugh or cry. There are more than 200 pieces here. Ancestor, you can't use them alone. Do you mind if I take some of them? Zichen smiled, but his hands didn't stop. Since it was the old ancestor of the thunder leaf, he would definitely not kill him. Therefore, Zichen decided to be thick-skinned this time. At most, he would be chased out. This way, he would have a lot of thunder leaf on him. Even if he couldn't use it, he could still exchange it for resources, right? Every leaf was an opportunity, and he had already secretly collected 10 of them. Sigh. The Tree of the Lightning ancestor let out a sigh. His emotions were extremely complicated. No matter how hard he tried, he could not connect this thick-skinned guy before him with the one who looked down on all living beings. Disregarding everything else, just their personalities alone were like heaven and earth. If you want it, I can give it all to you. But you don't need it here, so what's the use of it? The Tree of Lightning sighed and said. Hearing that the other party wasn't angry, Zichen immediately said, Elder, you're in charge of this place, so you don't pay attention to what's going on outside. You're not in charge of the household, so you don't know the cost of daily necessities. I still have a lot of friends around me, a big family. I just came to the Sacred Thunder region and am unfamiliar with the place. If I don't find a way to get some resources, how will I live in the future? You said you have a lot of friends. A big family. The Tree of Lightning ancestor's eyes revealed a look of surprise. That's right. Zichen continued to pick up the thunder leaf and said, this time, if it weren't for the help of the Thunder Saint, I wouldn't have been able to come here at all. Even if the Thunder Saint asked for it, the thunder leaf I got attracted a lot of trouble. Before I came here, I had a fight with a 3-star. Although I won, he has a family behind him. I don't know how he will scheme against me in the future. The Tree of Lightning ancestor's eyes widened. For a moment, he didn't know what to say. There were more than 200 thunder leaf here. Zichen took away about 30 pieces and didn't dare to take any more. He still understood the principle of stopping when it was appropriate. He looked up at the fruit on the Tree of Lightning ancestor and said pitifully, Elder, can this fruit make my realm advance by leaps and bounds? Why don't you give me one to taste? You really want it? The Tree of Lightning ancestor stared at Zichen. Zichen smiled awkwardly, I'm just joking. Please don't mind it. Thank you for your generosity. These thunder leaf are enough. Then, before Zichen could finish his words, branches and leaves extended in front of him. There was a fruit in front of him. Try it if you want, the Tree of Lightning ancestor said. Zichen subconsciously took a step back. He couldn't believe that such a good thing would fall on him. He was just joking. Try it. There are still many anyway, the Tree of Lightning ancestor said again. Zichen shook his head. He didn't want to eat it no matter what. The Tree of Lightning ancestor said, if you refuse, then leave all the thunder leaf behind. At this moment, if someone saw this scene, they would definitely go up and slap Zichen to death and replace him. What a good opportunity this was. He actually refused again and again. After discovering that the Tree of Lightning ancestor was serious, Zichen also carefully stepped forward and picked the fruit. When he touched the fruit, there seemed to be a strange power that entered his body. This feeling was vague, and Zichen couldn't determine it. "Eat it now." Watching Zichen pick the fruit, the Tree of Lightning ancestor said again. Under the supervision of the Tree of Lightning ancestor, Zichen gave up the idea of exchanging it for resources and had to take a bite. With one bite, the fruit scattered, turned into a force of thunder, and went straight to Zichen's eyes. The silver light in Zichen's eyes, which had returned to normal, began to change after the new fruit's energy entered them. Occasionally, a faint golden light would flash through them. The faint golden light wasn't rich, but it was clearly visible. At the same time, a new message appeared in Zichen's mind. Eye of destruction. The power of the fruit was exhausted. The light in Zichen's eyes dissipated, but the shock in his eyes didn't disappear for a long time. This was the eye of destruction that he cultivated. Although he didn't know the specific function, it was obviously a very strange eye technique. "I see." At the same time, the Tree of Lightning ancestor also understood the function of Zichen's eye technique through the faint golden light. "Old ancestor, do you know how to use it?" Zichen immediately asked. "Destruction," the Tree of Lightning ancestor replied. Before Zichen could ask, the Tree of Lightning ancestor said again, "Feel it yourself." Zichen was a little disappointed. The Tree of Lightning ancestor must know. "Since it's our first meeting, I'll give you a small gift." Zichen's eyes lit up. He was looking forward to it. The gift given by the Tree of Lightning ancestor was definitely not something ordinary. Whoosh. Chapter 3405. Looking at the thing in the air, Zichen was slightly startled. "Ancestor, what do you mean?" At this moment, what was floating in the air was not the gift from the ancestor, but the stone saber that originally belonged to him. The stone saber came from the world of Lei Tianxia, and Zichen had been using it until now. It was very convenient, and the quality of the stone saber was also very high. "There are some flaws. I'll help you fix it as a gift." As the Tree of Lightning spoke, the branches swayed, and a fruit that looked like a small flying knife fell from the branch. As the fruit fell, it dispersed on its own, turning into the power of thunder. Zichen felt an extremely strong saber intent from the power of thunder. The scattered power of the fruit merged into the stone saber. Some lines immediately appeared on the stone saber. These lines were activated, and countless lightning saber intents emerged. Crack, crack. Zichen heard the sound of the stone saber breaking, but it was not the saber itself that broke, but the skin cracked. The surface of the stone saber cracked, as if the old skin had fallen off, revealing the sharp blade inside. The blade was about the length of a finger, as thin as a cicada's wing. It was no longer simple and sharp. The sharp saber intent caused the air to distort. Looking at the changed stone saber, Zichen thought of what Lei Lan said in his mind. The Tree of Lightning could be used to refine weapons. Now, he had seen it with his own eyes. It was really amazing to use the fruit of the Tree of Lightning to refine weapons without other things. Zichen's horizons were broadened today. The flying knife, which could no longer be called a stone saber, came to Zichen's side. The soul connection between the two still existed, but Zichen was surprised to find that the flying knife could no longer be enlarged and could be used as a normal weapon. Originally, it was used with the thunder blade controlling technique, but there are some flaws. "I didn't expect to see this weapon again." The Tree of Lightning looked at the flying knife, and its voice became soft. Zichen's heart skipped a beat. He asked, "Ancestor, have you seen the stone saber before?" "Once," the Tree of Lightning said. Zichen said excitedly, "Ancestor, do you know about Lei Tianxia? This is what I got from his world." "Lei Tianxia?" A hint of doubt flashed in the eyes of the Tree of Lightning. "I've never heard of him. Who is he?" Zichen shook his head in disappointment and said, "He was my friend, but he disappeared. I asked Thunder Di Saint, but he also said that he didn't know him. However, Lei Tianxia knows the Lightning Clan's techniques, and he also knows about the sacred lightning region. The lightning body, 9 deaths of lightning, and lightning blade that I mastered were all obtained from him." The Tree of Lightning comforted him. There are too many members of the Lightning Clan. They can be found in every region of the Saint Spirit world. After so many years, it's inevitable that some people are not known. Oh. Zichen nodded, unable to hide his disappointment. The Tree of Lightning continued, if you feel that you don't have enough power one day, you can come and find me. I will help you refine another demonic blade. Zichen was a little surprised that the old master would know that he had a demonic saber with him. However, he wasn't too surprised. After all, the other party was the old Master Thunder. His means would naturally be through the heavens. He immediately said, I feel that I don't have enough power now. There was an obvious smile in the eyes of the Tree of Lightning. It's not a good thing to always rely on external forces. Only when you are strong yourself can you be truly strong. Zichen nodded and said, what the old master said is true. Zichen will remember it in his heart. Although it's true that you are strong, the prerequisite is that you have to protect your life, right? The prerequisite of being strong is to protect your life. It's not bad to have external objects to protect yourself. The Tree of Lightning actually agreed with Zichen's words. Well said, but the demonic blade is unusual. It will be difficult to refine it in a short time. Take it out. Zichen took out the demonic blade. Looking at the demonic blade that was 7 in 1, the Tree of Lightning had a nostalgic look in its eyes. The branches trembled slightly, and 3 more fruits fell. When the 3 fruits fell, they dispersed and turned into 3 balls of lightning power, flying towards Zichen. One of them turned into a lightning bracelet and fell on Zichen's right hand. The other 2 turned into rings. One covered the hilt of the demonic blade, and the other buckled on the scabbard of the spirit cultivation saber. Zichen's left hand sank. At this moment, the demonic blade suddenly became heavy. As a 2-star sacred spirit, he could not hold it up. At the same time, there was a tingling pain in his right arm. It was as if someone was carving words on the bones of his hand with a knife. The pain was unbearable and extremely uncomfortable. Old Master, what do you mean? Zichen asked, the corners of his eyes twitching. Refining weapons. The Tree of Lightning said, the demonic bone and the demonic blade are the weapons of the Devil Clan after all. They are not very compatible with the Thunder Clan, so they need to be refined so that they will no longer reject the power of lightning. I guess you don't have the patience to wait and don't want to leave these things with me, so I can only help you this way. On one hand, the pain was unbearable, and on the other hand, it was as heavy as a mountain. Zichen wanted to cry. He immediately said, I'm willing. I don't need this demonic blade for the time being. That's it. It's also a kind of training for you. I'm sleepy. I'm going to sleep. This was an order to leave. Before Zichen could say anything, a repulsive force fell on him. The next moment, he disappeared from this place. Just after Zichen disappeared, another person appeared in this space. It was the recognized strongest old master of the Thunder Clan. Lei Zhengke. Lei Zhengke nodded at the Tree of Lightning. As soon as he appeared, you really woke up. The Tree of Lightning said, if it wasn't for him yelling, how could I have woken up? Lei Zhengke asked, what do you think? His personality is not bad. I like it very much. The Tree of Lightning said, compared to before, this personality is more approachable. Lei Zhengke nodded and said, indeed, I'm also very surprised. The personalities of these 2 are too different. How did you find him? The Tree of Lightning asked. He learned the lightning controlling technique. Lei Zhengke said. No wonder. The Tree of Lightning suddenly understood. He hasn't awakened yet. Did something go wrong? It's not clear yet. Lei Zhengke said, it should be a matter of time. The Tree of Lightning asked, who is that Lei Tianxia? He seems to have a great influence on him. Lei Zhengke said, it's Lei Tianxia, that traitor, how is that possible? The Tree of Lightning was a little surprised. Where is he? He was killed by Lei Di in a rage. Will there be an accident? No, I saw it with my own eyes. In this Saint Spirit realm, no one can escape my perception, let alone fake death. Since that's the case, let's wait patiently. The Tree of Lightning closed its eyes. As long as it's still him, he will awaken the moment he returns. Lei Zhangke nodded again, and then his figure disappeared. He didn't even look at the many thunder leave on the ground. He didn't even care about those fruits. At his level, there was nothing in the world that could make him care about it. Zichen walked out of the space where the tree of lightning was. This time, he really had a great harvest. Once he completely comprehended all the spells, his combat strength would definitely improve greatly. Just as he stood still, he saw a little boy standing in front of him. It was the one he had kicked away earlier. The other party was staring at him indifferently, as if he was going to denounce him.